Evening and welcome to the Lake Forest Council meeting, January 16th, 2018. I'm going to convene this meeting, and thank you all for showing up tonight on this special night. We want to say thank you, and we want to say I hope you guys all had a wonderful, happy holiday season. So with that, I think we have opening invocation will be led by Pastor Daniels from Arbor Christian Fellowship.
Pastor Danny Daniels.
Okay, if you'd like to join me in prayer, bow your head in the form of you'd like. We thank you, Father, for this day. We thank you for the beginning of this new year, Father. We look forward to a wonderful, blessed year from you. We thank you, Father, for the last year that we've had. We thank you, Father God, that you blessed us with another year. Thank you, Father God, for being with us, keeping us strong. And may 2018 bring health, happiness, and prosperity to the city of Lake Forest and its residents. We ask, Father, that you would watch over and protect our families, Father God, and we pray for the family of Blaze Burdenstein, Father. We ask, Father God, that you comfort them, show them the love of Lake Forest and the community, Father. With the violent death that he had, Father, we ask, Father God, that you've made a special place for him. We ask, Father, that you would just bring our city closer together with this tragic sense of violence in our city. We thank you for keeping the people and the children and everybody safe this coming year. We ask that you prosper our businesses in 2018. Allow us to prosper in ourselves so that we might be a blessing to those around us and the blessing to the world. We ask that you bless our first responders, whether it be the Orange County Sheriff Department or Orange County Fire Authority, Father God. Bless them with safety, Father God. Be with them, Father God, as they patrol the streets at night when we're all sleeping, Father God, and they're willing to put their lives on the line for us. We ask that you bless them and protect them. Protect those that are serving overseas right now, Father God, for the ideas that have made America great. We ask that you protect our service members. Protect our president. Watch over and protect him. Give him wisdom. And we thank you and praise you for this year for our city council. Give us unity as a council. We give you all the praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Mayor Pro Tem will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to ceremonial items. Item number 1. Public comments.
We do have a speaker for item number 1.
Oh, well, we're just going to do public comments first. Yeah.
Sorry. Agenda item number 1, resolution certifying the January 2nd, 2018 special recall election submitted by Assistant City Clerk.
Public comment.
Adam Nick.
Adam Nick, Lake Forest resident. I am wondering if I can save this 3 minutes and just add it to my item number 2 or 4.
It's 3 minutes back to back.
Well, I mean, give me 2 minutes of the 3 minutes added to item 2 so I can have 5 minutes.
Okay, deal.
Thank you, Scott.
There's no further comments.
Item number 1. We're ready. I'll entertain motions.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to move item 1, but just with some comments. I had a few people this week who, and it wasn't a large number, but a few people that asked to have this vote postponed. I don't feel like that's the appropriate thing to do. But I was asked to just read something that was passed from the Registrar of Voters that was passed to some city staff. And it was an email, so this was a Public Records Act request that was made. And sent to some of our staff, and it says, "I understand from one of the staff members at the Registrar of Voters that you're looking for some kind of documentation that indicates the recall petitions were turned over to the Orange County District Attorney. Unfortunately, the warrant was filed under seal with the court, so I can't provide you any documentation of the search warrant itself. However, I can confirm that the petitions were transferred to the custody of the Orange County District Attorney pursuant to a warrant, and that a criminal investigation is underway. The investigator assigned to the case is so-and-so in the Organized Crime and Intelligence Unit of the Orange County District Attorney's Office." So was just asked to state that. I don't know the validity of it. I don't know any of the information, but from my perspective, it's kind of irrelevant because the voters spoke on January 2nd, whether the petitions were valid or not, whether there were any signatures that shouldn't have been there. There's been a lot of discussion about that, but there was a vote of the people. Vote was taken. The results are before us, and I believe that we need to move forward with certifying the January 2nd, 2018 special recall election results, and so that's my motion.
Second?
Please cast your vote.
That motion passes unanimously. Agenda item 2, comments by outgoing council member submitted by Assistant City Clerk. Adam Nick?
Hello again, and once again, Adam Nicholas. I have 4 pages of notes, but I'm not going to get even halfway there. So, the most important thing I want to get across is that everything in the 200-word ballot statement that was published in the Orange County Register on or about March 1 was accurate and true, unlike what Andrew Hamilton has been saying. Many realize this, maybe not everyone. If there were any piece in there that was untrue, invalid, or a flat-out lie, Andrew Hamilton would have sued by now, and it would have been a good lawsuit for him. The reason he can sue, the reason he couldn't sue, he can sue, is because everything is true. There is, however, one little inaccuracy, not so little, but in a way it is, and that is, for some reason, it states that the Nikasi nursery is 45 acres. I think it's about 120, 130 acres. So if anything, that just means that Andrew Hamilton's rubber stamping of that project, if he had gotten a chance to rubber stamp that project as he has other projects over the years, that would have been 3 times more egregious. Besides that, there is no statement therein that is untrue. It's all true. Quickly, I want to move on to what Andrew Hamilton put out. I am looking at the flyer he put out, and it says, "This recall another waste of taxpayers' money based on lies." Nah, there was no lie in that statement.
Mr. Adam Nick, can I ask you just a point of order?
Sure.
If you're going this way, we've got a certificate of recognition of a duly elected vote of the people of Lake Forest, and we don't need to rehash the election tonight.
I am not rehashing the election.
But you are. You're going through campaign literature. Okay,
It's
go
okay.
ahead.
It's my right, Scott. He's got this flyer, and on it he's got his 3 most major accomplishments for the 3 years he's been on the council. Saved $9.3 million in future interest on pension liability. No such thing. It was not it was a no-brainer. We had the money in the bank account, sitting in the bank account, earning less than 1%, less than 1 point. we were paying, what, 6-7% on that liability? We just wrote the check, paid it off. Not a major deal. Not to mention, when I had brought it up earlier, it had gotten no traction. So, a big deal in the respect that it was paid, but Andrew didn't have much to do with it, if anything. Initiated publishing of $5.2 million of unclaimed property. Nah, he didn't publish anything. All he did, he instructed the staff to put a link in there on the city's website, to the state's website. That's all he did. That was just providing a link on a website to the city's, to the state controller's office, I guess, on the city's website. And then the third one, reduced traffic by initiating and approving traffic-reducing projects such as traffic flow on Bake Parkway. For the while that I was on the council, no such thing happened. I thought maybe over the last year and a half something has happened. Ran it by Jim Gardner, no such thing. He actually wrote an article about it and called it untrue. So that is just another lie. Now, besides this is the list of his most major accomplishments. This is pathetic. Not only it's not true, it's even if it were true, it would be pathetic. 3 years. People have paid his salary, people have paid the mileage on his car, and this is what they get. Now, on the front of it, he has 5 clips of 5 periodicals. 3 of them from the Orange County Register, 2 of them from an op-ed piece. It's just an opinion. Anybody can write them. So those 2, okay, just opinion. The third one from the Orange County Register is taken totally out of context what that article wrote or read. That's that. There is one here from OC Daily. That is just an online outlet. Anybody can write an article on there.
Okay, Council, Mr. Adam Nick,
Yes.
time is up.
Is it already 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Right. Time flies when you're having fun. Thank you.
Margie Matzel?
You really didn't have to do this.
Anyway, a couple of months ago, I remember when Council Member Hamilton helped me out. First of all, I did call Councilmember Dwight Robinson, who did call me back later. I got his voicemail, and I got anyway, there was a large snake on Peachwood, 5.5 foot. Turns out it was a gopher snake, and I called Animal Control, but it was already the weekend, so they couldn't come. So I was worried for kids and people coming up down the street, a lot of dogs and kids. So Councilmember Hamilton came down himself, I believe with a golf club, put it to the side, made sure it was dead, and then he called Animal Control, and they came out. So I just wanted to thank you. We need to do that over the months. Thank you for serving the community in that small way, and thank you for the service over your term. We appreciate it. It's not easy being a council member. The late Mayor Richard Dixon, who I knew for many years, it's a sacrifice to you and your wife. But thank you again for getting rid of that snake, and thank you for your service.
We've had no further requests.
Well, I guess my time is up. And first I want to talk about Blaze. And it really saddens me. This is like really the most important thing, confronting our community. Here's a gentleman who was young, full of vigor, life, family, and this is really the thing that is affecting our community. This recall, it's nothing in comparison to that. So my heart just goes out to his parents, his siblings, his classmates, I think we even have someone on staff whose son played soccer with him. You know, Blaze meant a lot to this community, and I feel horrible for everything that's happened. I know all my colleagues, everyone here does. So that's really what our community is about. And it just saddens me that, you know, this happened. I want to thank the sheriff for all their help. You know, I can't believe the amount of volunteers. I know one of the volunteers who was out searching, and, you know, kudos to the sheriff and the volunteers. I think we need to remember him in some way. I know people are probably going to come tonight. I've read that there's a bench potentially or a tree. You know, I fully support that. I can't tell you how much this truly, truly saddens me. I feel like I could talk about this for an hour. I really do. You know, my family, I hold them dear and closer because of Blaze. So, I just wanted to read one thing Blaze wrote. As you know, he went to the Orange County Performing Arts, and I guess one of his admission essays to the University of Pennsylvania, he was really into creative writing. And so I just want to, again, honor Blaze in just the talents that he had, the life, the vigor. So here was part of his admission essay. Quote, "When I write, the world around me stops, and the gears in my head turn at 1,000,000 miles per second. Writing gives me a voice, which is why my stories are in a constant state of flux. Even if I don't change a word or a single letter, they move with me down corridors of memory, through seas of emotion, and into worlds both real and imaginary. As I change, they change. And even after days or months or years, I can still find a version of myself, a time traveler from the past, present, or future, sitting there in the text and waiting to speak to me." We'll never forget you, Blaze. So I've had the time of my life on the city council. I've enjoyed serving our community in so many different ways. And I just have a little list of maybe unfinished items. I know that fence on the golf course, you know, we've talked about that. You know, there's downhill speeds that we can help improve so that, you know, that fire, that house fire in Normandale doesn't occur again. You know, our parking enforcement officer, I know you've been diligent trying to get that done, so, but maybe we can just get over the finish line sometime. You know, our traffic is number one on our survey. I really do think that Liftham, we have a Lake Forest Traffic Mitigation Fund and trying to loosen the restrictions on that, so I encourage all of my colleagues here, you know, one final time. I think that's a worthwhile effort. I think it's worthwhile studying the Alton Freeway and 5 Freeway. You know, this unclaimed property map that actually the city published, I think it's a great tool. You can see your neighbors. I want to thank staff for, and especially Deborah, who really pushed that. So it contains all of the information on the map, you know, and it goes really above and beyond what the state website, just simple search does. I think our Don't Make It Easy campaign, I just, you know, I think that was such a great success, and we've had, a reduction, a significant reduction in crime. Number 3, lowest city in Orange County. I don't think we've ever accomplished that before, but I just think keep going with that. I think we should continue our city of kindness as much as possible, possibly with our housing funds, that we try to partner with someone like the Orange County Rescue Mission. I really like their model, to give someone a hand up and not force them to kind of stay in that small little band of income. I think our wireless reception in town, we've done so much to change. It's gone through the Planning Commission. When I was on there, I was a real big advocate of that, and we've changed our wireless ordinance, but we've still got the towers to build and the facilities to construct. Our unfunded pension, I would really love to see our city continue to pay that off every so often. That saves us a lot of interest. We've talked about this curb and trash parking issue on El Toro and Muirlands. The whole street, I think we've got some people here in that area. We've even gotten some folks that say, thank you, now the apartment and the condos need to step up and clean up on Osterman. I think we've still got that parking issue with the Ross going across the street on Rockfield across, that could really improve traffic flow. Defending our sales tax revenue, construction of the Civic Center using the owner's rep. There's a lot of things to be concerned about in our city, and safety too. I think number 1 is safety. Thank you, the sheriff, for everything you do. I love our city, and it's time for me to sign off. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate I've had so many people come up. I even had someone give me a hug in the Rouse. So won't ever forget that one. That one was fun. But I just really appreciate everyone's kindness and support, and I really have had the time of my life on the City Council. So thanks. I'm signing off. Maybe you'll see me later in the streets, in the sports park, and I just love our city. Thanks again.
Wait. I want to say that if anybody wants to say anything, now would be the time, because Andrew, I would like to say that as mayor of the city of Lake Forest, it's been a blessing for me to have Andrew on my right side. And it was his idea to pay off the pensions early and save us $9.7 million. He is a certified public accountant, and he's a man of faith, and he's a family man. And I can say that I'm proud to have him as my friend. I know that he's a wonderful father, a loving husband, and a loyal participant of the city. So I want to say thank you for your last 3.5 years, and so thank you so much for your service to our city. You've been a true blessing to all of us, and so your legacy will go on, because we have a great city, and no one person can change that. So thank you so much for your service to the city. I think there was someone, hey, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. I love you, man.
I'm Lake Forest for about the last 12 years. I served in the Marine Corps, Vietnam veteran. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I got into law enforcement. Therefore, I'd like to thank the lieutenant for what you do. I know you don't get to hear it enough. We never did. But it's appreciated, your sacrifice. I've lived in Anaheim. I've lived in Garden Grove. I lived in Seal Beach. And then about 12 years ago, I moved to Lake Forest. Best day of my life. I was so happy to be here. I'd like to thank Councilmember Hamilton for the fantastic job that I feel you've been doing and would continue to do if this chaos, this nonsense, this Dr. Gardner inflamed crap, as I like to think of it, hadn't happened. You got people like Adam Nick comes up here and he had an extra couple of minutes. He took 5 minutes to do nothing but do what this city has been doing for too long now, nitpicking and complaining and whining. And I don't, for one, as a Lake Forest resident, appreciate it. You know, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm not one to get up and speak in front of people, but again, to reiterate, I just want to thank you. I think you've done a fantastic job. I mean, a lot of points were made here about, you know, good deeds, bad deeds, legitimate signature getting or whatever. I happen to know for a fact that a man came to my front door with a clipboard. Now, this is after being approached by people at Albertsons and Ralph's and everybody else that don't even have a clue what's going on in this city, but yet they wanted to get signatures to try to get you ousted. Well, they've succeeded. So if there was ever a gang of three, which I've heard this thing for so long now, this gang of three, I got a feeling now maybe the city of Lake Forest is finally going to get that gang of three. I don't like it. But when you get these people getting signatures, and then I had a gentleman come to my home, knock on my door, and he had a clipboard with one piece of white paper on it. He had a picture of 2 doggies and 2 kitties. That was all that was on that piece of paper. And he asked me and my wife if we'd sign this petition to help save the pets, to help save the puppies, Fluffy and Poochie. And I asked him, I said, does this really have anything to do with dogs and cats, or does this have to do with the recall on Andrew Hamilton? He goes, well, yeah. I said, then why didn't you tell people that? He said, you think I ought to tell them that too? So to me, that's deceptive, you know. He going into a senior park and asking a bunch of old people to save dogs and cats. Well, there ain't an old person alive that's not going to want to save Fluffy. But had those people known the truth of why he was standing on their doorstep and what he was really out to get, there wouldn't have been nearly as many signatures as they got. When you only have 19% of the registered voters of a city come out to vote, that's not saying much. That's why this happened. So I, for one, am sorry it happened. I wish it hadn't happened. I support you. I've always supported you. And again, I'm just really sad to see Lake Forest direction is going right now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Okay. Okay, and with that, thank you.
He doesn't have a stick with it.
Okay, Andrew's had his say, so thank you. Thank you, Councilman Hamilton. Please, you can. Thank you, Councilman Hamilton.
And I wanted to say thank you to Councilman Hamilton. He gave up his own personal time to do this, and I appreciate it. I don't agree with his votes. I got involved to save Fluffy. I don't agree with the 10-year contract that he signed, that 3 of you signed, for the High Kill Shelter in the county. You know that. That's why I got involved. There's other things, too. I didn't agree politically, but it's not personal. And I hate to see the ugly personal lies and attacks that are going back and forth. I hope we can pull together. If you vote, I don't like your vote. It's my right to say I don't like it, and I can vote you down. But I don't want our city torn apart. We're better than that. We are a kind city. And I think that's why a lot of people voted for the animals, because we are a kind city. But anyway, I wanted to say thank you to him. It's not personal. It's his vote, and I don't like it, and that's it. It's not that I don't like him. He's probably very nice. So that's what I wanted to say.
That was nice. Thank you so much.
Okay, agenda item 3, installation and oath of office ceremony submitted by Assistant Clerk. And if I could have Mr. Cagley join me at the podium, please. Yes. All right. Okay. Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your name.
Thomas R. Kegley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support
support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and
and
allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties
Upon which I'm about to enter.
talk about the beginner. Just want to thank all who are here this evening, particularly my friends from the grand jury, and 14, taking my one. Some of them think that's a joke. Most of you in this audience know that my wife hospital last week. She's improving well. I miss her, and I thank you for your prayers.
Well, Councilman Cagley, congratulations. We welcome you to the city of Lake Forest, and I know that you're going to be a great addition to our council. And so you bring a lot of knowledge with you, and I know that your commitment and dedication through your service to our nation, through your armed service, it will be greatly used here, because the fact is that dedication means something, and you've shown that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we wish you Godspeed.
Thank you, sir.
And Tom, you get a microphone, so keep that in mind. Now you can talk with a microphone.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda item 4, selection of mayor and mayor pro tem for the ensuing year, submitted by Assistant City Clerk. Sorry, and removed from the consent by Adam Nick.
Okay, so selection of mayor, that's, so we're moving public.
Adam Nick.
Adam, Nick, 3 minutes will fly very quickly. Let me just quickly read from here. First, congratulations to Mr. Cagley on your impressive landslide election victory. By yourself, you garnered over 50% of the votes and held a 2-to-1 advantage over the runner-up, who was a former councilman and mayor. On a different note, an overwhelming 3 of every 4 voters elected to remove Andrew Hamilton. These are the city's most engaged residents, and their opinion was struck with resounding force. January 2nd was a good day for the city, although we had a tragic event also, so it was equally bad for the grieved family, Bernstein's. Tonight I have 3 matters for your consideration for the new majority, as they call it. And I don't believe it's a majority at this point. I think you're all independents. At least 3 of you, I know you are. Now, first, put as much before the voters and allow residents to have an active voice in regularly scheduled elections. Doing so will prevent future councils that may have corrupt and self-serving ideas. It'll prevent them from reversing the will of the people. This is something such as the Sunshine Ordinance that I introduced in 2013, and I lost 4-1. For the record, and other things, for the record, it was before Jim joined the council, or we would have lost 3-2. There was 2 of the council members who voted against it are still here, Dwight and Scott. My second item, over $50 million annual budget we have. It's bloated. I've said that all along over the years. Cut it by at least 5%. Jim and I tried to do that. You, Dwight, you, Scott, and Andrew outvoted us. You cut 5%, that's $2.5 million. That means the expense for the recall will be recouped in 22 days. You get to recoup the recall's expense in 22 days. Cut it by 5% at least. That'll save us $2.5 million a year. You're a financial guy, right? I know you agree with me on that. You should put before the, this is my number 3, you should put before the voters an initiative that any rezoning requires public input, requires a vote by the electorate. Rezoning, any land development that is not in conformance with the city's regularly devised general plan, any rezoning needs to go to voters' approval, as opposed to 5 of us or 5 of you deciding in that room away from people's scrutiny. My time is up. Once again, good luck to you. Good luck to all of you. Thank you.
We've had no further.
Yeah, so as far as the, are we going to just focus on the mayor first? Mayor Pro Tem second?
Mayor first.
Okay. I regret some of the, I regret some of the previous decisions that I've made at times, not all of them. I think I've made a lot of great, but we take a lot of votes up here, and we don't always get it right. And so over the course of the last year, I've looked hard at a variety of decisions that I've made. Some of them I've maintained my position, stayed very consistent. Others I've had slight changes. I don't think anything overwhelmingly significant, but the position of mayor in the last vote that we took last December of, what was that, 16, was one where Mayor Pro Tem, I think she was the councilwoman at the time for a very brief second, had nominated Councilman Gardner to be mayor. And it wasn't something that I supported at the time. And then, as many of you that may have been here, and I know a lot of you weren't, may have recalled, at our first meeting in December, that's typically take the vote for mayor and mayor pro tem, and I asked to push it off until after the recall election. But the day prior to that meeting in early December, I had breakfast with Councilman Gardner, and I told him that regardless of the outcome of the election, that he'd have my support for mayor. And it wasn't something that I publicized. It wasn't anything that I was trying to make known, but I wanted him to know, and I reiterated it on a number of occasions just so that he'd know that it wasn't a flippant remark on my part or anything like that. But I look at some of the other cities. Some have directly elected mayors, and that may be something that we put before the voters. It's something that we've talked about, and I think that's in our plans for this November. But until we do so, I think that a rotation is a very fair thing to do. For the most part, this is a ceremonial role as mayor. There are some opportunities to lead, no doubt about that. And but I think that it's important that everyone gets their turn. And looking to someone that I admire as another council member here in Orange County, Mark McCurdy, was a councilman in Fountain Valley up until actually today when he resigned. But he was passed over by his council, and that was frustrating. And I thought, hey, if I'm frustrated by someone that I spend some time with and that I'm very closely aligned with, and then someone who I am aligned with a lot, but maybe not as much, I shouldn't let any of my personal feelings or anything like that get in the way. And actually, Councilman Gardner and I have spent a fair amount of time this year, this past year, and a little bit this year now already, but getting together, getting to know one another. And, I want to encourage all of us to try to do that, to get to know one another on a very personal level, spend some time with one another, and some of our animosities might slip away. It's very easy to find someone to be an adversary that you don't spend time with, that you don't get to know, you don't talk through issues. And even when he and I have talked about some issues at a very surface level, maybe just like a bullet point level, there's been a level of disagreement there. But once I understand what he's saying, he understands what I'm saying, I think that's where we find the common ground. And I think that's important, that dialogue, and we shouldn't be pushing ourselves into silos, but we need to find a way to work together. So with all that said, I apologize for the long preamble there, but I want to make a motion I'm nominating Jim Gardner to be mayor for 2018.
And I'll second that. Just a sign of unity, the fact is that we are a council of 5, but we represent the city as a unified front. So we may have our disagreements, but the fact is, whether we disagree on a certain item doesn't mean that we're against the city. And so I want to say that I'm wishing our future council Godspeed in representing the city of Lake Forest. And so I will be honored to second that. So with that, I will call the vote for mayor of the city of Lake Forest. Please cast your votes.
That motion passes unanimously.
A gang of 5.
Imagine that. So, no, that brings us to the selection
Mayor Pro Tem.
of Mayor Pro Tem. So the floor is open for nominations.
First of all, thank you very much for your kind remarks and for your second. And I honestly do think we're going to be a gang of 5 and work together for the city. And that doesn't mean we're not going to disagree, and sometimes it's going to be 3-2 or 4-1. I mean, that's going to happen regardless. But I do think we'll all independently work together to make the city better. And as the new mayor, I'm going to be a different kind of a mayor, and that's going to get on some people's nerves, but I hope ultimately that will be successful. And we're looking to do more this year, I think, than any council's ever done in a year, much less 4 years. And to do that, I'm going to be a little more active, perhaps, than mayors have in the past. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to need a right-hand woman to support me. She's done a great job as the Mayor Pro Tem. And I'm going to be doing so many things. I'm going to rely on the Mayor Pro Tem a lot. And so I'd like to nominate Leah Basil as the Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second the nomination.
Okay, council, cast your votes.
Motion carries unanimously.
And with that, we'll take a 5-minute intermission. So I want to thank you all for being here, and congratulations, Mayor Gardner and Mayor Pro Tem Basil.
Council, can we get together and reconvene?
they serve Merlot.
What? Well, welcome back. Welcome to 2018. We're going to be doing things very differently this year, and I think that will become apparent at the next meeting that we have. We'll be changing a lot of things about the way we run the council meetings and about the way that we handle that the city functions. The city functions well, and I think this year the city will function better. So I'm really looking forward to all of us working together, and that also means all of you working with us to make the city the better place that we know it can be. Interestingly enough, in getting ready for tonight in the council office, I realized I forgot my glasses. And I know there's something Freudian there, and I've been dwelling on that for the last half an hour to try to figure out what that is, but I'm not exactly sure what that is. So that would make for an extremely long and laborious meeting today if I have to, or she has to hold it up here, and I have to try to read. So I've asked Mayor Pro Tem Basil to take over tonight and to run the meeting, and I promise I'll, not only did I not have my glasses with me, my spare pair that are in my car are not in my car because they're in my wife's car. So this is an overdetermined situation. But there's a lot more to being a mayor than running the meetings, and I think you'll see that in the near future. So with that, and thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem Basil, for taking over.
It's my pleasure, and I did not hide your glasses. Oh, I get the gavel, too. All right. Okay, so next we're going to hear from our student liaison, Sarah Dahlstrom, El Toro High School. Come on up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council members. Sarah Dahlstrom here reporting to you on the past and upcoming events at El Toro High School. Last week, our Chargers returned from winter break, and we are back to the books studying hard as our Semester 1 finals are beginning next week. Finals will be next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wish us luck as we draw our first semester to a close. It's almost dance time. Our annual winter formal dance will commence on Saturday night, February 3rd, at the Great Park in Irvine. Remember, winter formal is our Sadie Hawkins dance, where the girls will have to ask the boys this time. The theme is Arabian Nights. We're so excited, and it's the perfect way to begin our second semester. In sports news, basketball season is in full swing. Last Wednesday, our Charger boys took on our longtime rivals, Trabuco Hills High School, in our gym. The game was close, but luckily our Charger boys pulled a victory and beat Trabuco 63-53. Nice job, boys. Their next game is tomorrow night in our gym at 6 p.m. against Laguna Hills High School. Be sure to come and support them. In other sports news, ET Boys Wrestling is crushing it. Last Friday night, our boys beat Dana Hills High School 36-32. They are now one win away from being back-to-back league champs. Way to go, boys wrestling. In ASB news, our ASB, as well as other ASBs in the Saddleback Valley Unified School District, are getting ready to host a Meet the Pros ASB conference at Laguna Hills High School, where we will invite all middle school ASB students for a day of fun and learning how they can make ASB in high school great. Throughout the day, we'll be hosting leadership workshops, activities, and plenty of spirit games to get these middle schoolers pumped for high school. That's all I have for tonight. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great evening, and as always, go Chargers.
Thank you very much, and good luck with your finals.
Thanks, everyone.
So now it's time for public. At this time, members of the public may address the City Council regarding any items within our subject matter jurisdiction. No action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and an overall time limit of 30 minutes for the public comments portion of the agenda. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter, whether it or not it appears on the agenda, is requested to complete a request to speak form available at the door. The completed form is to be submitted to the city clerk prior to an individual being heard by the council. When you are called to speak, you will see 3 lights, the first being green. When you have 1 minute left, the light will turn to yellow, and when your time has expired, the light will turn to red. At that time, your public comment period has ended, and we request that you conclude your comments and save any further general comments for a future meeting. Madam Clerk, any requests?
Yes, Your Honor. Mike Black, followed by Donna Beavers. Donna Beavers, followed by Bob Holtzclaw. Bob Holtzclaw. Followed by Bob Stewart.
Through here, and I just wondered, let me get my glasses out. Okay. Took me by surprise. Bob Holtzclaw, resident of Lake Forest. I know some of you are going to think I'm going to be talking about Alexander or Andy Hamilton, but no. I just want to say that 72.1% of the voters said no and yes on the recall. Plus, 51.8% of the voters elected Tom Cagley out of 6 candidates. That's definitely a wake-up call for this city. Things have got to change. Now, this is my bucket list for the new city council, and I've got 10 of them. All right, here we go.
I have 44.
There you go. I've got 10. Stop all new developments, including the Nasaki nursery, until traffic problems are fixed. 2, in the spring and summer, eliminate 13 days of street sweeping to save the city about $200,000 of our tax money. 3, introduce Meals on Wheels to our seniors, and that's very badly needed. 4, look for a possible Lake Forest animal shelter, and I'm sure a lot of people behind me agree with that. Number 5, appoint people on commissions that are qualified instead of a friend to further on city council agendas. 6, work on modernizing the Foothill Shopping Center. 7, put a flagpole in the Veterans Park. 8, recuse any council member from voting on a project if they receive X amount of dollars, and that's including PAC money. And I'll let you figure out what the dollar amount will be. Number 9, write an ethics ordinance that has some teeth in it. I'm tired of seeing council members lying to us on the diocese. And number 10, approve Leah Basil's motion to let the residents decide what is to be built on the Nasaki nursery property, if it's ever sold. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Great suggestions.
I just wanted to say most of those are on my 44 list here, but bear in mind the city doesn't control private property, so it's difficult. Nakazi, it's an agricultural, they can sell it to somebody else who uses it for agricultural purposes, but we have no ability to come in there and make something in Nakazi, nor do we have the money. Similarly with the Foothill Ranch Shopping Center, the city doesn't control it, it's private property. So we're pretty limited on how we can engage with private property. Other than that, the rest of those are on.
Bob Stewart.
I'm really pleased you decided to have 2 Bobs in a row. I think that's really good. I do want to say one thing. My name is Bob Stewart, but I go by Stu Bob, so I'm Stu Bob. One thing before I talk, I want to make sure that tomorrow the headlines are not fake news. Council wants bigger gangs. I'm hoping that doesn't. All right, today is actually my anniversary.
Happy
There's
anniversary.
a card, an expensive one from 99-cent store. And my fiance, like me, believes that all politics is local. Speaking of which, I happen to have a local paper. It's the Orange County Register, and I'd like to read 3 boring paragraphs. At the City Council polling place, Bob Stewart, a 14-year resident, said he voted to recall Hamilton because of his votes for residential development and because of his demeanor on the council. Stewart said he has attended council meetings to ask for table shades at Peachwood Park and has watched in frustration as the parks get built with new developments while his request goes untouched. They're so pro-development and they don't worry about traffic, he said. They're owned by the developers. They're rude to citizens. It's dreadful. I'm hoping that this is no longer true. And I'm a council member, I'm a HOA board member, I'm a grandfather, and I love Peachwood Park. It's adjacent to, have you been to Peachwood Park? Good job, too. I invite you to come and I'll give you the same tuna fish sandwich that my grandkids get. When Mr. Nick was still on the council, they came out and took down 5, I almost pushed them over, 5 wooden covers. And then we've heard, and I believe it's a ploy for inaction, we've heard that there's a study going on for 10 specific smaller parks, and we're tired of studies. We don't see this as an upgrade. We see this as a replacement for the shades that were above the 5 tables that were full of termites and had been removed over a year ago. So as a voter, as a board member, and as a grandpa, I want to use the W word. It's not the S word, Donald Trump. It's a W word. It means we. I'm going to come to every council meeting on every Tuesday, even though I often go to my home in Big Bear, and I'm going to ask what the status is for the covers for those 5 tables in Peachwood Park. I've done this before. I'll keep doing it. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem. Is Peachwood one of the parks that is on our upgrade? That it's more than planning, but we are upgrading 10 parks.
Yes, it is.
Could you touch on that briefly?
Yes.
We are planning, or we're past the planning 6.
Absolutely. Council, we did some community outreach last year, and then the City Council awarded a contract, I want to say the last, I think 2 meetings ago, at the end of November, beginning of December, for a consultant to finish the community outreach, and then we bring conceptual ideas to the City Council, and then we budget for the capital improvement money that would be needed to rehabilitate the 10 parks.
Can you give us an ETA?
On which part?
On specifically Peachwood Park.
Peachwood Park.
What
The shade.
would you think?
They're all coming up the first week of February. It's like the 5th, 7th, and 8th. Those all 10 parks will come up at workshops that week.
That's correct. 5th, 7th, and 8th, 7 o'clock p.m. at the sports park.
And from there, what
So those
would you estimate would be the ETA until it's finally,
We'll probably I think we're anticipating bringing plans to the Parks Commission in April, to the City Council in May. Then we work on the final plan based on what the City Council approves, and then as we work on the final plan during the budget time, we also ask Council to allocate funds for all 10 parks. Peachwood is one of the 10 parks, so it's difficult to pull it out. We can prioritize the shade structures. We have shade structures that we're going to likely put up in about, I don't know about all 10 parks, but several parks.
Mr. Stewart, I'm sure that we'll have a unified front there. A gang of 5 will be voting in support of your shade structure.
I know I will.
I understand the speaker's frustration. If I can just clarify something, we don't know if it's going to be an upgrade or a replacement. It really depends on what people come and tell us that they want at the park and the workshops. And as the mayor mentioned, we have 3 more workshops planned in February.
Okay, so that sounds like, it's a very good plan, and I apologize, it doesn't seem to move as quickly as you shows. I mean, we are definitely in the right direction. It's just things with government, things take time, and we want to make sure we get it right, and doing the final outreach with the residents to make sure that what we have laid out is correct. That I think that's a very safe thing to do, because things can change once our conceptual plans come up and residents take a second look. They may realize, we actually do want a bathroom now, or maybe we don't want a bathroom anymore. It could be some pretty major things, so it's important to bring it to the residents for their final approval.
That's exactly right, and I would also add, for the 10 parks, there will be some parks where we do something new. There may be other parks where we simply replace amenities like shade structure. In that respect, we're really talking about 10 parks where we may have things that we're replacing that would include shade structure. So you achieve a certain economy of scale, and you can get a better price when you bid something out if you're asking someone to install shade structures at 10 parks versus 1 park or 2 parks.
Makes sense. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that being said, we have to do something about government. I've been trying for over a year to get a shade at the dog park, and I keep hearing everything your frustration, my frustration over trying to get a shade at the dog park. So one of the things I'll be talking later in council comments is to try to get some, it's like a battleship, it moves very slowly. We need to turn it into a cruiser. So I'll be talking about that later in council comments.
Any other speakers?
Larissa Clark, followed by Adam.
Hello. Happy New Year. Congratulations, Mayor Dr. Gardner. I don't know how you say that.
Mayor sufficient.
Mayor Larissa Clark, resident of Lake Forest since 1998. I'm going to be reading a message tonight on behalf of Deborah. She wanted to be here herself tonight, but was asked to make a presentation to the disabled American veterans in the city of Orange at the same time, so she can't be here. Here's Deborah Pauly's message. As founder of the Vets Rock, I want to personally congratulate Colonel Tom Cagley on his election to the council for the city of Lake Forest. It was wonderful to have a fellow military veteran who served our country honorably. He was sworn into elective office this evening. Please accept my apologies that I cannot be there personally to congratulate you, Councilman Cagley. I have no doubt that you will represent your constituents with honor and integrity, placing solid principles for good governance above petty politics. I know you will take very seriously your sacred oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, as you have done in the past as a sworn military officer. If there is anything I can do to help you, please let me know. I keep your wife, Nancy, in my prayers. Again, Colonel Cagley, congratulations to you and to your team of dedicated supporters on a battle well fought. To the voters of Lake Forest, I send my sincerest regards and wishes for a prosperous and safe, productive new year. Signed, Deborah Pauly, elected member, Republican Party of Orange County, representing us here in the 68th Assemblyman District. And I would also like to congratulate you, Councilman Cagley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam Nick, followed by Rose Tingle.
Hello again. Just a couple of brief paragraphs. You now have a unique opportunity to do more in 11 months than the previous councils did or failed to do in 26 years. I have waited since June of 2010 to have a council that would give residents a fair shake, a council that votes on principles and merit. Today, finally, I don't expect you to agree. No, I just expect you to vote your conscience. not the first and foremost allegiance, the only allegiance you have is to the taxpayers and residents of Lake Forest. There is no second allegiance. To reiterate, if you don't remember anything about my presence here today, remember one thing, please. In an effort to ensure the will of the people is heard, I beg of you, I encourage you to place many of the most important items on the 2018 election and 2020 and therefore and thereon. People need to decide the future of their city. You are just their agents. And please stay away from that room. It is conducive to corruption. When I was on the council, at times some of us tried to find a reason to hold things in closed door. That's not how it should work. We should find every reason that we can for things to be in public. Only a limited number of matters require that. And that is not up to you. The state calls that. Don't abuse it. I know you won't. Very briefly, out of the 10 items that Bob Holtzclaw mentioned, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10 is something that I either did or Jim and I either did in 2013, 2014, or Jim and I tried to do in 2015, 2016. Only items 6 and 7 were not. And both of them, actually, as Jim pointed out, we don't have control over private property. We do have control over, however, granting a rezoning. And again, any rezoning which will be nothing but a privilege to the landowner or land purchaser should be and must be approved by voters, not any of you, not the 5 of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam.
Rose Tingle, followed by Sharon Logan.
Rose Tingle. I'm with the Citizens for Animal Shelter, Orange County, representing constituents from the 14 contract cities that contract with the county animal shelter. My main reason for being here today is to ask the City Council to create an Animal Services Committee so that the City of Lake Forest has oversight over the county animal shelter. The City of Costa Mesa is in process of creating a Animal Services Committee. They sent out a press release asking for applicants to apply. The committee is going to consist of 7 members. 5 of them will be city residents, and 2 will have expertise in animal care. Now, if people do not care about animals, the main reason that I'd like to see this happen is transparency. There is no transparency at that Orange County Animal Shelter. There is no oversight. Just briefly, since we do have a new council member, the county shelter is 77 years old. During that time, there were 5 Orange County grand jury reports, performance audits, several lawsuits, and during that time, there was a committee consisting of about 6 people. 1 was from the City of Lake Forest, who met monthly with that with the staff at the animal shelter. Nothing was ever done to improve the conditions, even though they were getting grand jury reports. Now, the county has finally decided to build a new shelter, although animal advocates wanted 3 smaller shelters located conveniently throughout Orange County. They are only going to build this one mammoth one. But the problem we have now is there's no transparency. I submitted a request to the county for the results of the JVR Shelter Strategy Consultation Contract, and the Orange County Board of Supervisors have not responded. They are holding up the response and may even go to court. the Orange County Board of Supervisors is notorious for lack of transparency. You're spending a lot of money on that animal shelter, and the Orange County Board of Supervisors will not provide the information requested to the public. So again, this is more than just about caring for animals. This is about transparency, and I think all the citizens deserve to know how the money is being spent. Thank you.
If you're not aware, Rose Tingle is probably the hardest working person in Orange County on behalf of animals, and I don't know how you don't end up in the Orange County Register's 100 most influential people. She's in cities everywhere, and just to make you happy in case you leave early, tonight I'll make a recommendation about the Animal Services Committee, and tonight I'll also make that we explore our own local no-kill shelter. That'll happen during council comments.
Sharon Logan, followed by Ashley Brown.
Good evening, council members of the Lake Forest City Council. My name is Sharon Logan, and I'm here to speak on the Orange County Animal Care. It's been a little over 5 years since I was at the Orange County Animal Care, and I videotaped a Orange County Animal Care worker kicking, hitting, and putting a 1-year-old owner surrender pit bull, beautiful red boxer mix into the wheel of death and immediately wheeling that dog back to the euthanasia room. I uploaded the video to YouTube. It went viral. It got worldwide attention, and Orange County Animal Care's prompt response for me showing that video was to suspend me from the shelter. They actually sent me an email saying that I could no longer rescue for the shelter, privately adopt for the shelter, or even go back on shelter grounds. My response to that was a 24-page lawsuit that was filed 3 years ago. 2 years ago, we have a 48-page settlement agreement in place. It's been 2 years, 3 months since our lawsuit settlement agreement, and at the end of October of 2017, our attorneys just filed a new 102-page motion to enforce settlement against Orange County Animal Care. In the past 2 years, our attorneys and some dedicated animal advocates assembled a volunteer team that consisted of a medical doctor, 2 retired attorneys, a paralegal, a veterinarian, a data statistician, and one paid consultant. These are the findings of OC Animal Care in 2 years, provided straight from their raw data. 63% of owner-requested euthanasia dogs were euthanized within 1 hour of entering OC Animal Care, with a median time of just 48 minutes for OC to kill owner-requested euthanized dogs. No chance for rescue, no chance for adoption. This violated the Hayden Act. Of all the dogs euthanized by OC Animal Care monthly, 30% of those were pit bulls, pit bull Staffordshire mix. Equally shocking would be the discovery that OC Animal Care would euthanize 94% of the stray cats that ended up at OC Animal Care, with 70% of those stray cats euthanized within a day of entering OC Animal Care. Notably, 60% of the stray cats were euthanized at OC Animal Care for the stated reason of being too young. And in conclusion, I just want to say thank you to Councilman Jim Gardner, who's been an outspoken critic against Orange County Animal Care for 3 years. Thank you to Councilmember Leah Basile. You are 2 brave council members for going up against OC Animal Care and for recognizing that the pets and the strays of the city deserve better. We will be in court on February 23rd of 2018 with our 102-page motion to enforce settlement agreement. Thank you. And thank you to the residents of Lake Forest who have spoken, Sherry Anderson, Rose Tinkle, and all the other residents that know that the pets and strays of Lake Forest deserve better treatment than being at OC Animal Care. Thank you, Lake Forest.
Ashley Brown, followed by Sherry Anderson.
She's the second hardest working person in Orange County.
My name's Ashley Brown. I've been a resident here for 7 years. Mayor Pro Tem, and council members, I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the animals as well. They don't have a voice. We really need to think of them. We're talking about being a city of kindness and knowing that we're not doing all we can, both for our own pets as well as for stray animals. When you hear the statistics, it's got to break your heart to know that we could do better than this, to know that animals are too young to live, and to know our dollars are going towards that. So even if you're not a compassionate person, even if you're not somebody who's thinking about these animals and what they're going through, to know that the torture, and they don't even get the chance to be who they are because they're so scared in those surroundings. But even if you're somebody whose point of view is to say we need to be fiscally conservative, to know that the money that we're putting into that shelter doesn't do anything for our city whatsoever. We have no ownership. That money is just being dropped into a place that for years has been mismanaging these animals. We know this. There's so many undercover videos showing what they're doing. Breaks my heart. I talk to my children about how we can do better, how we need to think of these animals. We are their voice. They need us to be there for them. This is our chance to say we can do something for them. So everybody who's ever thought about a pet you've ever had, think about the worst case scenario for them, and that's what happens at the OC shelter. Would you ever want your childhood pet to end up in that shelter? This is what I think about. This is what I think about my pet now. If my dog got loose for some reason and ended up in there, and they took action to kill her the same day she arrived. That does happen. They don't follow the protocol. This is known. This happens over and over again, and we have to stop it. We can stop it, and we need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Sherry Anderson, followed by Judith Russell.
Okay, I want you to reconsider, just like the other people that spoke, our contract with the horrible Orange County Pound, and reconsider our no-kill humane shelter here locally. They have horrible, poor management. As mentioned, 5 grand jury reports, and they've done nothing to take care of that, to fix it up. I mean, it seems like that would be breaking our contract there. They're supposed to be treating our animals humanely and taking care of them, not just killing them. They have poor quality and care, which was mentioned in that. I brought my kittens, some of my foster kittens, a month or so ago, gave you an example of how they mislabel animals, saying that they are unadoptable because of behavior problems. And you saw, obviously, the cats did not have any kind of behavioral problem. That's common in the high-kill shelters. Orange County, because they were sued by a vet who won because they were signing his name, falsifying reports, saying animals were too sick and had to be killed, making them unadoptable, changed their policies to now behavioral problems because they're trying to make them unadoptable. In fact, there's a dog about a couple months ago that was, I think he was under quarantine for a while, and the owners picked him up. Very malnutrition, could hardly walk, obviously animal abuse for that poor dog. It was heartbreaking to even watch it going on at that pound, and I believe there's going to be a lawsuit, if there's not already one, about that. I know Lake Forest voters voted, a lot of them, for the recall because of the awful 10-year contract. So I know they're looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to, that maybe things will change with our with the election we just had. A couple of our councilmen have lost positions now because of, and I do believe a lot of because the animals, because I was once standing out in front of PetSmart with pictures saying, you know, these are the people that voted for a high-kill shelter, and we want a no-kill shelter. These horrible FOAB meetings, Finance Operations Advisory Board. Now, how can that not be under the Brown Act? This is my question again to our attorney. If 3 of you got together and discussed our finances and our operations of the city privately, isn't that against the Brown Act? So how can they do that privately there? They have to have some kind of transparency, somebody there. We've asked for notes. We get nothing. So Sharon gave you examples of what's going on there. Rose gave you examples. Please reconsider the 10-year contract, the no-kill, and I know you'll have the support of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Judith Russell, followed by April Josephson.
Thank you. Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and the council members, it's an honor to be here tonight. I especially wanted to thank, I believe it was Scott who gave the prayer tonight. Definitely enjoyed that. My husband and I have been residents of Lake Forest since 1983, and this is the first time I've addressed the council. And one of the reasons that I'm here tonight is because our home is one of the homes that does back up to Lake Forest Drive, and we've noticed in the last, I'd say, 6 months to a year, this is above and beyond the normal traffic noise, which we, expect, and there's not really nothing that can be done about it. But now we're hearing very loud motorcycles that I don't know if those are legal mufflers or illegal mufflers or what they are, and cars with same situation, trucks, and frequently that's happening around 11 o'clock or around bedtime at night. I know there's not much, it wouldn't do me much good to get up and call the sheriff's department and say, such and such is going on, when by the time they got there, that I'm sure that vehicle would be gone. But I don't know whether certain signage would discourage some of it or what actually could be done. But I know that this is increasing, and I'd certainly like to see it addressed. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem. Russell, we as the city, you stand there, just listen. We've actually had other complaints, and I know other people about the traffic and the motorcycles and the fast motorcycles along Lake Forest Drive, especially in the afternoon and sometimes in the early morning. It's something that your request has been heard, because the fact is that it's something I meant to bring up before, that we have had a lot of complaints. I've talked to a lot of people in the Ralph Shopping Center right across kitty corner from your house about the motorcycle traffic and speed. So that's something we'll look into. So thank you so much for bringing that up to our council attention. Thank you.
Your first time coming to the meeting, and thank you for...
April Josephson, followed by Sunny Morper.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. I'm the Executive Director of Pet Adoption Center of Orange County. We've been operating for 6 months now, working with the city, and really appreciate your support. I wanted to let those who might be in the audience or at home listening and hadn't heard about us, I just wanted to let everybody know that we are at the Albertson Center at Ridge Muirlands, 24331 Muirlands Boulevard. We are open Wednesday through Sunday, and we are also working right now on the 3rd annual South County Pet Expo with the city and Supervisor Bartlett's office. If anyone is interested in having a booth at the event, we are taking booth applications now. I can send sponsor forms out. Anyone would like to email me at april@adoptocpets.org. And thanks for your support.
Can you give us that email address one more time?
april@adoptocpets.org.
Mayor Pro Tem, the date that
it's March 10th. Saturday, March 10th.
Park.
At the Lake Forest Sports Park. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
April, question for you. Do you need volunteers to help out with the dogs and the cats?
Yes, we always need volunteers, and we do every week or two. We're doing new orientations for volunteers. We can use them for events, for at the center, marketing, social media, all kinds of things.
And do you also take donations and cat food, dog food?
Yes, we take all kinds of donations. Thank you for asking. I'm not good at promoting all those things. I'm dealing with the dogs most of the time. So, but yes, we appreciate any kind of support people can give, whether it's monetary, whether it's donations, whether it's of themselves, or just want to come in and adopt or foster even. We're looking for everything. Okay.
Thank you. You may check with Ashley Brown. I wouldn't be surprised if her or her lovely daughter would be willing to help you.
Sunny Morper, followed by Norman Spriggs.
Good evening, Mayor Gardner. What a pleasure to say that. It's been a long time, from the days that you and I shared a common interest in being association presidents. Thank you for your continued service. To Colonel Cagley, your day has just begun, and there will be another one in November, so your work's ahead of you. Congratulations to you also. I know you share a common experience that I do, and the other gentleman that's an association leader, Jim Reichert's here from our own association. I think each of us would probably agree that we like the idea that you've put forward, Mr. Gardner, and that is having an HOA type of representation and form an advisory council of some sort. With over 3,400 homes in our association, we know who we represent, and we go out annually to be reelected, and we knock on doors, and we have an opportunity to talk with our constituents. It's nice to see that you, and I hope your fellow council members, will join in that common interest to establish two-way communication with other leaders in the community. It's a great idea, and it's been a long time coming. The other thing that's on my mind personally, and that is that since 1972, when my wife and I owned our first home in what is now the city limits of Lake Forest, we saw lots of changes since that time, mostly in the form of what our roads look like. The abundance of traffic is well stated by others and has been on everyone's mind for some time. I believe the council attempted to do some things over the last several years, and to your credit, some things were done. But I must say that the work is incomplete. The goal wasn't set high enough, and I urge you to set these goals, and that is that there be a opportunity for any driver coming from Portola, down Bake, all the way to the freeway, that they have a green light, and that there's no reason for stopping. The same would be true in Lake Forest, the same on El Toro Road. Make that the goal. The time and energy reciprocally in terms of coming back the other way is possible. But you've got to make it the understanding by those that work for you that that's your expectation, and that red lights go in the other direction. And then, if you want to really set the bar high, establish the same kind of X and Y axis ability of drivers to go from the major thoroughfares from Irvine all the way to Mission Viejo without a stoplight, and do it simultaneously along the X and Y axis. It can be done.
I'm sorry to interrupt. The 3 minutes are up. Could you finish closing up?
Thank you. Okay, I shall. I didn't see that light. Okay. But at any rate, that would be my recommendation to you, is to set the bar higher and get it accomplished this time.
Thank you. I believe that was my initiative, wasn't it, with the HOA boards, getting all the HOAs together to have a meeting?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Basil's been very active in that, and in fact, the kickoff day for the HOAs to get together with the city and begin this is March the 21st, and you'll be getting more information about that in the near future. And I hope by tonight, the council comments, that one of my colleagues recommends that we go forward with the Traffic Commission to try to more aggressively deal with these traffic issues and parking, which affect all of us. So hopefully, by the end of the meeting tonight, we will move forward on that item.
And I'm really looking forward to the HOA meetings. I'm still a member of my board for one more year, and they're begging me to stay on. I just don't think I can do both. But I'm looking forward to this because I will be able to attend this meeting as a HOA board member and a council member, so I get two benefits from that. So I'm looking forward to it. Two lunches.
Norman Spriggs, followed by Joni Benn.
Thank you, council members. My name is Norm Spriggs. I'm a resident of Lake Forest for 20 years. I'm there to talk about parking in our neighborhood. It is getting to be unbearable. We have park and ride, or the surrounding areas is coming to our neighborhoods, parking their cars, calling their friends up to come in and park their cars to where the residents have nowhere to park. My wife is handicapped, and for 12 years we've been arguing about the parking. I spoke to the Mayor Scott. I spoke to officers before. We call all the time. Nothing's being done. Our streets are well over parking. I count the cars on our street. There's 4 cars on our street out of 30 cars that doesn't belong in that neighborhood. People come there, they throw their trash out in front of our houses. We go out there every day, pick up the trash, pick up unnecessary garbage that people leave there. We call the cops when they're sitting out in front of our house, smoking their dope, drinking their beers, doing all the other stuff that they do. Nothing's done. I have 2 grandkids that live in my house with me right now. It is unsafe for them to be out in front to play. Cars are coming there. We have no idea who lives there, who's parking their cars there. They sit there. They take pictures of our houses. They sit out in the front. It's absurd. Today, someone came by the house. We called for graffiti. Somebody come by our house to look at the graffiti, and we put cones out in front. Like I said, for my wife is handicapped, so we put the 2 cones out in front of our house, and she was threatened today. They would take our cones and cite us in front of our own house for trying to preserve parking. You come down there, cars are parked on the sidewalk. They're parked on the curb where you turn the corner. You have to merge around and go around them. It's going to be a serious accident there. There used to be stop signs. There's no stop signs anymore. It's unsafe. We pay the taxes there. We deserve to have representation on parking. There's other neighborhoods that I travel just to check out. They have signs that says resident parking, permit parking. I live on Muirlands and Rattan, Muirlands and Tulip. It's absurd there. It's absurd. We have people come there with their big dump trucks and their business trucks, licensed business trucks, parking on our street because they don't want to park in front of their homes, or they don't have anywhere to park over there. The street behind Rattan, where all the apartments are at, if you go down there Monday through Sunday, I don't care what time of day it is, it's bumper to bumper. It's a fire hazard in there. If a fire broke out, people would die. They couldn't get their cars out of there. They're parked so close that when you're taking 5 minutes to move your car from in front of your own home is ridiculous. Now, I don't know where any of you guys live at, but down there, something needs to be done. They come down our streets driving 60 miles an hour in a residential area. Nothing's being done. I called the cops. I asked the police to come out there. Just sit here and watch. It'll stop. But they come out, they drive through, there's nothing.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
I know my light's on.
Your light's on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but this is
it's
important.
very important what you're saying.
It
I
is.
completely agree with you.
And I'm going to leave at this note, but something's going to happen down in that area. Someone's going to get hurt before you guys do anything, and when it does, I'll be the first one to let you guys know, going to the newspapers and letting them know that I come to these meetings sometimes, and I've been coming here for 10 years, nothing's been done. So if something happens down there that's absurd, someone's going to get hit, killed, whatever, God forbid, I will be the one going to the paper saying that I did bring this to council's meeting, and like I said, this is 20 years and going, and if God forbid something happens to my grandkids, we'll be talking to y'all.
Tom, can you get in touch with him and maybe we can work on doing like a parking ordinance, like we're required permitted parking or something. So the director of Public Works will get in touch with you.
And Norm, we actually just this year authorized another parking officer that's going to help us with parking enforcement. So get your neighborhood parking permits with Tom, and he'll show you how.
Okay, great.
Yeah, could I also ask Lieutenant Valentine, could we, because there's more things going on there than just parking, could you send one of those guys, the additional on the overtime, into that area and give us a report back on the other issues, not just the parking issues? With the crime and the stoplights not there and people smoking dope and all those other illegal activities you talked about. Okay, thank you.
Joni Benn, followed by Martin Henderson.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for having us tonight, and congratulations, Mayor Gardner, on your announcement. I am Johnny Ben, and I run Dream Animal Rescue, and I am very pleased to be a part of the Pet Adoption Center of Orange County. I do predominantly cat rescue, and we are now housing cats at the adoption facility there in Lake Forest. And many of you don't know, we have a small space in the back, and we can house up to 11 animals in our space. And we are currently saving Lake Forest cats and Orange County cats from the shelter and from owner surrenders as well. And we are also looking for fosters and volunteers that can help us. And we'd like to help make Lake Forest a no-kill city for the cats because I know they're in such great need. Orange County Shelter does kill a very high number of cats, and we battle our butts off to try and save as many as we can. And thank you for letting us be here in your city. We're very excited to be a part of it.
Thank you. We're glad you're here, too.
Martin Henderson?
I want to thank Mr. Spriggs for coming here and speaking tonight and talking about the dangerous street. Coincidentally, it was a dangerous street that brought us to this recall tonight where we have this new council. In October 2015, Leah Basil, who was then just a resident, came before you guys with a room full of people, and they were not listened to. And this is another opportunity where you guys need to man up and listen to the people of Lake Forest. The people who are behind me tonight, I would recommend that all of you up there take a look at these people and take a good look at these people. Because tonight, those are the faces of hope. For the first time in a long time, people are here and they expect something to get done. They don't expect their leaders to sit on their hands and wait for something to play out in its own sweet time. Now, I'm encouraged by Dr. Gardner and what he has planned for the city. And I think things will get done. And we are fortunate to be at this place. We're fortunate that Ms. Basil tried to recall you and Mr. Hamilton a couple of years ago because that got the word out. Put you guys on notice, but still, you guys acted with impunity. And finally, Mrs. Clark, she managed to get Mr. Hamilton out. Now, I've seen what Mr. Hamilton is claiming as his accomplishments, and they are incredibly weak. The fact that he counts as one of his major achievements that he got a link on the website, that is not moving the needle. That is not what you guys are getting paid for. The people here gave you the most important thing that they have, and that's their trust. Now the question is what are you going to do with it? Are you still going to try to play games and represent Republicans at the county level or in Sacramento and try to make a name for yourself? Or are you going to get back to basics and do what you were elected to do? That's the question. I can't tell you how happy I am tonight. Because tonight, for the first time, we have 3 people here who are empathetic, who are courageous, who are willing to listen to the people behind me, and who are willing to listen to the people up there, and who are willing to do what they were elected to do, and that is to represent the people of Lake Forest, California.
Thank you, Martin.
We've had no further requests.
Okay, so on to consent calendar, the warrant register. All matters listed under the warrant register are considered enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the City Council, public, or staff request specific items be removed from the warrant register for separate action. Have there been any requests to remove items 5 or 6 from the register?
No, ma'am.
From Council?
No, but a move warrant register.
Second.
Okay, cast your votes, please.
That motion passes unanimously.
Mayor, Mayor and members of the council, I just want to clarify, you were moving number 5 and number 6?
Yes.
Thank you.
So next consent calendar, numbers 7 through 13. All matters listed on the consent calendar considered routine will be enacted by one vote also. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the City Council, public, or staff request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Have there been any requests to move any items from the consent calendar?
Not from the public, no.
Council?
8, and I'll move the remainder.
And I'll second the remainder.
Cast your votes.
On item 8, back when I had my glasses, I saw that page 5 had council. So it seems like as good as this council may be, we don't deserve 2 councils. So with that change, I'll move the motion. I'll move the item.
And I'll second that.
Okay, cast your votes.
I'm sorry, it did not register. I'm going to have you vote again one more time on that one. That motion passes unanimously.
On to discussion items, number 14.
Agenda item 14, annual city council appointments to boards, commissions, committees, and agencies submitted by Assistant City Clerk.
Have there been any requests from the public?
Yes, ma'am. Rose Tingle.
Hello again. I noticed on that list of commissions and committees, the South Coast Air Quality Control Management District was called out, and I believe Dwight Robinson is a representative on that committee. I have a little bit of a concern because I learned recently that one of the members of that committee, or rather I believe it was the CEO, was voted out because he allegedly did not support businesses. And just after that, there was an article in the LA Times about a rendering plant in Los Angeles that had been causing problems for the surrounding communities because it is not enclosed, and the stench was reaching out to these other neighborhoods. And the article in the paper said that the reason the AQMD did not do anything about this sooner is because of pushback from businesses. So there's a conflict of what is being said there. You know, is it, if they're not doing it because of pushback from businesses, and then on the other hand, they voted out a member because they weren't favoring businesses. Anyway, the bottom line here is I think it would be beneficial for Mr. Robinson to give a report at least monthly as to what transpired during the meetings. Thank you.
Actually, I believe at the end of the last year, I had a couple of consent things that I could get through, and one of them was that I requested that we have at least quarterly updates from every member of council, and if there's going to be private residents part of these committees, that they would present to the city council at least quarterly so we do know what's going on. So we'll make sure that that does happen.
And may I say one thing? If people are not familiar with rendering plants, that is where the barrels of dead animals are taken to for rendering, and so that is why I'm really interested in this.
Thank you.
We've had no further requests.
Okay. So first of all, I was elected to that board by a majority of the mayors of Orange County, as well as a majority of the population that they represent. So I'm not appointed or selected to that board through anyone other than the mayor of this city will have one vote out of the 34 when that comes up. It doesn't come up again for 2 years, and I've already stated that I'm not running again, so that won't occur with my name on the ballot. With respect to communication, I am guessing, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that I'm the only member up here that has a quarterly newsletter that goes out to every single elected official in Orange County. explaining what's been going on at the district, so I'd be happy to present that orally as well. But each one of you should get one in your packet every quarter, and I believe that they're usually also in on the desks in planning departments all throughout Orange County and all 34 cities as well as the county. With respect to that specific issue with rendering plants and the vote to terminate the CEO, that was approximately about a year and a half ago. There were a lot of different issues that precipitated the removal of the CEO. We brought in a new CEO who ran Region 9 of the Environmental Protection Agency for 7 years. So that was the entire western United States, and a very qualified individual who's done a fantastic job. That particular rendering rule sat on the calendar for a number of years, actually, with no action by the previous CEO. And a vote was taken to develop a rule for rendering plants to try to enclose them as quickly as possible. And I believe it's about a 2-year window to enclose those plants. There's a number of different types of rendering companies that are located roughly in the Vernon area of the South Coast Basin. But some of those rendering plants include the Farmer John facility, which is makes a lot of our edible products. And so what doesn't go into a packaged product gets rendered. It gets processed because something has to happen with it. None of us want to see those products end up in landfills and things like that. In fact, that's one of the requirements. I forget the Senate bill. Our Director of Public Works may know, just from the waste management side, waste control, that the state and the regional governments are trying to remove as much food waste out of landfills as possible. It's going to be probably one of the primary focuses, since so many different products have been removed from the waste stream at this point. A lot of recycled products, including plastics, cardboard, and metal, but the next focus is definitely going to be food byproducts. So there's a brief response to some of those specific issues, but I'm always happy to provide any oral update that you all would like. And also, one of my interns who this past summer, who was a Lake Forest resident, actually came and gave about a 45-minute, or sorry, not a 45-minute, he gave a 4 to 5 minute presentation on what he'd been doing, on my behalf. And if any of you would ever like to meet with me on any specific issue, always happy to do that. And you all have direct contact with me, but I also have a staff member that can meet with council members from other areas if my schedule is impacted in any specific way. So, thanks.
I just wanted to add, in support of Councilman Robinson, he's been able to, when we have meetings with executives from Lake Forest businesses, he's been able to bring the information he has from the air quality into ways in which local executives might benefit from grant programs and other kinds of programs. So I think that's been very valuable and very well received by our local executives.
So why don't we do this systematically, starting from the top one. I believe the Joint Powers Insurance Authority currently is being, Robinson is the designated member. First of all, are you content? Would you like to stay with that board?
Actually, there's a good possibility that I'm going to be out of the country. I don't have the date. It's a one meeting per year, and it's usually in July, and I plan on being out of the country with family in mid-July, so I don't know the specific date, but it would probably be best if I wasn't on for that purpose.
Okay. Maybe offer up, is there anyone that's interested in this?
How about if I nominate Tom Cagley? Councilman Cagley?
I will second that. Would you like to do that?
If I can do it, I'll be happy to do it. I don't plan to be out of the country.
Okay, good. Well, then, I moved and seconded. You want to cast your votes for Tom Cagley?
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so the second one, South County Association of Mayors, obviously that would make sense that Jim would be that. Do we need to vote on that? Okay, good. The next one, Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency. I know we just appointed him. Do we need to reappoint at this point for the Transportation Authority? I think he just agreed, 2 months ago to join that?
The TCA.
TCA?
No, the last time he was appointed was last year. It's a year-long appointment.
And I would like to continue to serve on that. Construction was my background, building bridges and highways, and so I'd be honored to serve at Sea Lake Forest again on that.
Okay, well,
I've been the alternate on that for 3 years, so, and I would like to serve on that. When I was originally there, I had thought I got them to agree to a 2-week free pass for new people moving into the city as a kind of a marketing ploy, and I did that in one meeting, so I think if I went back, I could twist some arms and bug people until they finally said yes. So I'd like the shot to do that again.
okay. So then I made a motion for former Mayor Voights to stay on, Councilman, to stay on that board with Mayor Gardner as a second. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Cast your vote.
That motion passes with Mayor Gardner opposed.
The next one is the Upper Newport Bay Watershed, formerly held by Councilman Hamilton. Is there anyone that might be interested in doing that one?
How often do they meet, Mayor Pro Tem?
It says as scheduled. It doesn't give a specific time.
You know, Lake Forest is a unique situation because we have 2 natural creeks that run through our city. And from year to year, we get dredging costs that come up from the back bays of Newport Beach because of that. So I actually have some interest because the creeks that run through Lake Forest actually are natural watershed areas, and so I'd be willing to serve on that.
I'll second.
All right. Cast your votes.
Our creeks are need to stay open, but we have problems with flooding in our creeks and taking our trees down.
That motion passes unanimously.
The next one is the Orange County Fire Authority. I've been serving on that one, and I'm very happy, and I'd like to continue with that.
I'd be honored to nominate you again.
Second.
I've heard nothing but great things about you.
Well, thank you. Cast your votes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, the next one is Orange County Public Library Advisory Board. Now, Mayor Gardner, I know you're so excited about this one.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
You know I would.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I'd like
Oh, God bless you.
I can read, Jim.
Without glasses?
Yes.
Then I'll nominate.
I'll second.
Now, it shows Councilman Robinson as a designate. Are you comfortable remaining as a designate for that one?
I am, Mayor Gardner has been so judicious in making sure that he attends every meeting. I've never had to attend one, but I'd be happy to be a backup to you, Councilman Cagley.
Okay, so that has been moved and seconded. Cast your votes.
That motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the next one is Orange County Vector Control. Now, I understand there's a resident that's applying for this position as well. Should we give him...
It's actually the next agenda item. It's
Oh.
just listed on the list of everything.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
then-
a separate item.
Okay.
It's a different appointment.
So as far as the last two, obviously the South Coast Air Quality, we're not voting on tonight. South Orange County Watershed Management Area, we are also not voting on, correct?
The same as the other watershed.
Mhm.
Both the watersheds are represented by the same person.
Oh, okay. Okay. So then, I guess we're done with that one, and on to appointment to Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control, item number 15.
Agenda item 15, appointment to the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District pursuant to the MADI Act, submitted by Assistant City Clerk. And we do have some public comments.
Okay, yes, we'd like to hear those.
Sherry Anderson, followed by Martin Henderson.
I would like to recommend Bob Holtzclaw. He has extensive knowledge of the vector industry and from his own professional background in his life. He's also been involved with our community and helped our community out. When Lake 2 had a mosquito problem, he was there. When Lake Forest Elementary School had their mysterious bites, he was involved in trying to help with that, and that was all on his personal time and interest. We really need somebody with a strong background. We know now mosquitoes can not only lead to disease, we have it can lead to deformed babies, it can lead to death. So it's really important to have somebody that can help our community. So I recommend him because of his experience and his interest, and I think we're really fortunate to have a resident that has the interest and background to offer us.
Thank you.
Martin Henderson?
Anybody who's been here for the last 2 years knows that I'm not the biggest fan of Councilman Voigt's. I'm wondering if anybody up there can tell me the last time Mr. Voigt's gave a report to the people of the city for vector control. Can any of you? I doubt any of these people can either. And I suspect those people can't either. And the reason is because it's been at least 7 months since Councilman Voigt talked about vector control in a professional capacity to the residents of this city. Now, he wanted that job, and he wanted it badly 2 years ago. But for 25% of his term, the last 25% of his term, he has blown off his responsibility to report to the people of this city. Now, he was placed there because he voted for himself, and Mr. Robinson voted for him, and Mr. Hamilton voted for him. So you guys are on the hook for his malfeasance. So, I have a theory. My theory is this, that if Colonel Cagley was dealing with somebody who failed to report for 7 months on a 2-year term, that there would be hell to pay. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? He's up tonight. He wants the job. What are you going to do about it? I mean, Mrs. Anderson just gave some reasons for Mr. Holtzclaw, and Mr. Holtzclaw, I'm sure, will be interviewed up here. But you guys need to ask him, somebody needs to ask him tonight, how do you reconcile going 25% of your term without giving a report? And that doesn't even include the meetings that he missed and the meetings that the months that he failed to give a report before in the first 18 months. Irresponsible. Absolutely 100% irresponsible. And I hope one of you will ask him specifically tonight, why? How does he reconcile wanting this position tonight based on his performance for the last 2 years? Somebody's got to ask him. Because Lord knows, whenever I come up here and ask him questions about his lying, he doesn't answer. He gives me the bum's rush. He wants to move on to the next agenda item. Tonight, you guys need to make your first step and hold him accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We've had no further requests.
May I respond to the attack by Martin Henderson? Obviously, Martin doesn't agree, but there's a hotbed of mosquito activity starting in about April and ending about August. And that is when, during the summer, I brought brochures in for the city. If you go into any of the offices of the city of Lake Forest, we have updates on what was going on with the mosquitoes, the Asian tiger stripes that actually have been bringing Zika. We had no reported Zika infections in the county of Orange this year. And one of the reasons they actually say that we had such a good year. Not a lot to report on vector control was because of the amount of rain we got last year washed so many of the bugs out. This year, because of the drought that we're having, water that is accumulating is actually going to be a problem, we believe. But we have August is the end of it, and April-ish is the beginning of it. So the fact that you haven't heard a report lately is because there has been no activity to report. When we have probably the biggest hazard to the County of Orange is the most deadliest creature we have here in the County of Orange, which is the mosquito, because of the different kinds of diseases that have been imported from other areas that have been found here. The first bird death was found here in Lake Forest, and I reported that. But other than that, we didn't have a lot going on here in Lake Forest because of the amount of rain we got last year. So if you go into the clerk's office, if you go upstairs to the council office upstairs, you will see updates and warnings of how to best avoid mosquitoes. And so this year is going to be a hotbed of issue, but I'm gladly put my record up to anybody. In fact, I don't show up at the meetings. Madam Clerk, do we have a letter from the vector control on my attendance record?
Yes, sir, we do.
What is my attendance record? 97%. 90%. I missed one meeting, and I had to leave a meeting early. So I have missed 2 meetings in the amount of time that I've been there. I've served there for the last 4 years. So I've missed 2 meetings, and one of them, my wife locked her keys in the car, and the other one was my dog got out, and she couldn't find my dog. So I excused myself and left early. So I'm sorry, but my family does come first. But the fact that I've served that position, and I haven't been derelict of duty, so I've served it, and I've served it well. So, but I'll let the council discretion.
Well, I believe we should hear from Bob Holtzclaw, since he is offering, he wants to apply to this position. So if that's all right, I'd like to call Bob up. Maybe tell us the qualifications and the reason why you want to be on this committee.
Well, the reason why I want to be on this committee is because I've always been interested with animals since I was a kid. As an adult, I had the opportunity to observe small animals and insects that I never thought really existed, from Southeast Asia to China to Alaska and even in Puerto Rico. I've been a member of the Rare Fruits Growers, which is very connected with problems with insects and mosquitoes. I belong to the Zoological Society of San Diego and helped raise money for the elephant exhibit, which is a little more than just getting a free pass to the zoo. As a former owner of a coffee plantation in Puerto Rico, which I gained firsthand knowledge of the habits of rats, they don't have a vector control over there. So we employed 6 cats. And we take very good care of those cats. We do the same thing as like Disneyland. We make sure they're fed and everything else, and it's worked out just great. Our problem here is with rats, and it's a big problem. And the problem is that we feed them. We leave dog food out, we leave cat food out at night. There's trash cans that's not covered, and that's not only by residents, that's also by retailers here in the area. I've seen that I walk down to Serrano School, sometimes the trash cans on the weekend are 3/4 full. They should be dumped every Friday, and that's a cause right there. Rats are, they actually, they produce about 5 to 8 pups. They have a gestation period of 21 to 23 days, so you're talking about a new set of rats just about every 3 months. So holding down that population is very important. Mosquitoes, well, they lay about 100 to 400 eggs at a time. They go to a larva, they breathe in the water through a thing called a siphon, and they do have a problem, just like Mr. Voigt said. West Nile was here in 2003. We didn't do anything about it because I don't think anybody really recognized what West Nile was in the county. 2004, we had 64 home cases and 7 deaths. So it's something really to pay attention to, and hope I can do something with that. And especially just like we have here in our leaflet, there's a page in here where it says about the shot hole beetle. I hope to write something in there, if not every month, but everything that comes up important, we should have a little column in there, and I think more people would read that than come to the city council sometimes.
Great idea.
Okay, thank you.
And on that, Mr. Host, I want to say thank you for your willingness to serve. I, too, part of the Society for Animals down in San Diego, the Zoological Society, and I, too, am involved with beetles and collected black widows when I was a young boy, and and put them together just to watch them fight. But it was a nuisance to my mom because I had these jars of black widows around the house.
I bet it was.
But I'm going to nominate you, and I hope I get a second.
I will second that.
I'll nominate you, but the fact that you're saying that people from the audience say that I was derelict of duty. I was involved with the vector control. I was interested in the vector control. That article about the shot hole borer was in there because I advocated for that, and I'm involved with the shot hole borer battle that we're having in Orange County and Southern California. So I want to say welcome aboard, because I think you'll probably get a 5-0 vote. So congratulations, and I want to say thank you for serving.
No, thank you. May I say one other thing?
Sure.
We also have another beetle. It's called the gold-spotted beetle. And I don't know if you can see that little hole right there. And that's the type of hole that they've been putting in the trees. It's just like the shot hole beetle. You can pick this up at the Irvine Department of Agriculture. And that's another thing that we haven't discussed, but we'll further that on.
Thank you. So, all right.
But that won't be included in your vector control agenda, the shot hole borer, but I'll call the vote for that.
Yes, call the vote.
Just real quick, before we take the vote, I just want to have a brief discussion here. We've talked a little bit about reporting. I know that it's been mentioned that we'd like to do quarterly reports. I think that this is probably the one opportunity where this is going to be on the agenda, so it's probably the right time if we want to be specific about what kind of reporting we would like to see to make that happen. I don't want to criticize anyone up here because I think we're all living in glass houses. We've all been on, commissions other than Colonel Cagley, and we've all been on commissions and haven't probably reported as much as we should. So, it's because of that, I'm not going to criticize anyone, but I think that as we move forward, it probably would be a good idea to talk specifically about what we would like to see, at least frequency, maybe not necessarily the medium, because maybe the newsletter is better than oral, but maybe frequency. So, because otherwise I think we leave it a little vague, and we could be back here the next 2 years from now, having the same conversation about how often reports occur.
Could we vote on this issue and then you could raise that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and cast your votes.
You get a 0?
We wanted to clarify, is this for a 2-year term or a 4-year term?
I made a motion for the 2-year. That's what we've always done in custom of
The 2-year term?
city.
I agree.
I think 2 years would be acceptable.
Okay. That motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations,
All
Bob.
right. Well, thank you for your support, all of you. Thank you.
Okay, going back to the question of how often do we report on it? On the library committee, I have to tell you, there's not a lot of action and there's not a lot of stuff. On the other hand, I could report monthly, and the report is there is no news. So I would like to see those reports, though. I would like to see them in writing, and I would like to see them published in the agenda so that the people, have an opportunity to see what we're doing. So I don't think monthly is a problem if there's no news. Otherwise, we're going to go through each one and say this one is monthly, this one is quarterly, this one is 6 monthly. So I would recommend that it be monthly in writing and, be published in the agenda as such.
And I agree with that. And like I said, I'll clarify, in vector control, there is a hotbed of mosquito activity, and that is when we should have a report. And the fact is that vector control actually gives pamphlets that we can give out to the schools, mosquito repellent that I give to AYSO, and I think that with vector control, and I think with watershed, obviously watershed is a new committee that I'm on, and coming up as we hope to get some more rain, watershed is going to be an issue for us. And so me and Mayor Pro Tem Basil visited some of the creeks in Lake Forest and saw the erosion that was happening there. I think that's something that the residents and the council should know about. So I think maybe monthly as a report, but I think maybe leave it open for quarterly for actual updates.
I don't want to do a monthly report and then a quarterly report.
No, not of oral. Not a monthly, just a report of the topics that's going on. And I think a quarterly, leave an avenue for.
My suggestion would be if we do a monthly report that shows up somehow in the agenda packet under the consent calendar or something along those lines, if you want to pull it and have an oral report based on what is in writing, you could always do that at any point.
I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And that way, if we saw it, like last year, there was a dead West Nile bird found in Lake Forest, and that was something that was brought to the attention. And I think that we were the first city in South County that had a death of a bird. That was a sign, and so it's a warning sign. And I think that when we see that, I think that they hear from vector control. And
okay, so the motion is monthly reporting to go in the consent calendar on the agenda.
And one last thing to add. I like the idea, what Bob said about putting something in the leaflet, just a little teeny blurb somewhere. If we can each, if we're going to be writing something for the council meetings, we could copy that data and just have a page in the leaflet that says,
vector control actually comes up with an actually ad that we can run on that.
So something like that where we're just taking, a little corner and just talking about the things that are happening. So people that are reading the leaflet, they'll at least get to know that we're on commissions, we're involved, in our community and the things that impact our communities. I think it might be helpful, another level of, openness in government and some transparency.
Sure, but don't expect much from the library.
All right, so can you clarify the motion so we know how we're voting?
To clarify, I have Councilmember Gardner motion a monthly agenda report on the consent calendar, which can be pulled if the presenter would like to give an oral presentation, seconded by Councilmember Voights.
Now, could we incorporate the leaflet addition in that motion as well? Could we do that?
Yes.
As needed, I would say that as needed.
As appropriate.
Yeah, as appropriate, because like I said, coming up in the next few months is the beginning of mosquito season, and maybe an update at the end of summer or during summer. And watershed. Not a lot from the library, but there's.
No, but as appropriate, and let the city manager use her judgment. Well, that's a good item. I'll put it in.
So I have with addition to the leaflet publication as needed.
Yeah.
So if everyone's comfortable with the amended, can I get a second on the amended?
Second.
Okay.
Okay,
Now let's
just
cast our votes.
For discussion purposes here, I just want to ask a couple questions of staff because this has arisen a few times. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear in what we're asking for and what's going to show up in reality. So what I'm hearing is in the leaflet that occasionally when it's warranted there would be a column by a board member or maybe a paragraph or something along those lines. There's some potential legal issues with respect to the city in some way appearing to publicize an elected official. And so I just want to get a little clarification on that, because I know it's somewhat of a gray area of law. And I just want to make sure that we all have, our expectations are set correctly, so that we don't assume that something's going to happen and then later on you say, oh, we can't do that because of legal issues, and then someone's frustrated thinking that.
Yeah, it's a fair question. Mr. Mayor, council members, the mass mailing prohibition stands for the proposition that the city, or at city expense, a certain number of documents cannot be mailed out that feature one council member, especially with that council member's picture featured. So if it were simply a report from Vector Control, I guess that isn't a council member, but from the library committee, and we didn't feature one council member, but instead had the council, then we'd be okay there. One other note, having answered that question, I think AB 1234, legislation enacted years ago, actually also provides an informal time to report on any duties, and that's during council comment. So, of course, you always have that opportunity as well at every single meeting.
Okay. So we're comfortable with the amended?
I am. I just wanted to make sure expectations were set properly.
Of course. All right. Cast your votes, please.
That motion carries unanimously.
Mayor and members of the council, now that you've made your final selection for a board, if we could go back to item number 14, we'd like you to ask if you could formally adopt the resolution appointing Mayor Pro Tem Basil to the Orange County Fire Authority, and if you could also approve the FPPC Form 806. That's also in that recommended action.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Second.
Cast your votes, please.
That motion carries unanimously.
On to item number 16.
Agenda item 16, professional consultant contract award to prepare environmental documentation for proposed general plan amendment 05-17-5033 and zone change 05-17-5034 to allow a mixed-use project, residential, recreation, open space, and school site on the Nikasi Nursery site, 20261 Lake Forest Drive, submitted by Director of Development Services.
Mayor and members of the council, we have a staff report prepared for you that is roughly the same as your previous staff report. So the staff is here to answer any questions you may have.
I'll waive the reading of the report because we did it the last.
Any councilmen have any comments?
Is there anybody here from those companies? Yeah, okay. Oh,
please.
Okay. Vincent.
Good evening, Vincent Burke, Lake Forest. I'm going to jump out of the gate here on this with suggested uses for the Nakase Nursery property. How about a nice, big, beautiful 5-story, 3.5 million square foot budget rental and storage center? It's good enough for my neighborhood. It should be good enough for that neighborhood, shouldn't it? Perhaps it might take some of the pressure off where I live with the future Democrat voters of America who are standing out there at Geronimo and Orange. Maybe some of them can head up in that direction. Don't like that idea? How about this? My wife and I were season ticket holders for about 7 years, I think, to the Pacific Symphony's outdoor summer concert series. Okay, so Verizon Amphitheater is gone. How about a nice amphitheater up there? You know, that would be a nice draw.
Only with country music.
I can go for that, not limited solely to that. But perhaps something like that can be considered use for that land. That's all I have to say at this moment. I'll be speaking on the next item when we get to it. Thank you.
We've had no further requests.
Now, I believe we have a consultant here. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Is anyone opposed to hearing what the consultant has to say? All right. Welcome.
Welcome. My slip? Somebody want to slip? My name is Les Card. I'm a principal with LSA Associates. We're the recommended consultant to enter into this contract with the city. We also have with me, there she is, Nicole DuBois, who would be the project manager assigned to this project. We're in obviously complete agreement with the staff report, but maybe if you don't know us, we've been in business in Orange County for 42 years doing this exact same type of work. We're an employee-owned company. We went and responded to the city's request for proposal, went through a selection and interview process, and obviously we're recommended. We're excited to continue to do good work in the city of Lake Forest like we have on several other projects in this vicinity, and we're happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, did you ever do an EIR for an agency in which you recommended that they not go ahead?
Well, that isn't the basis of our work. Our work is to not make a recommendation on the project. Our work is to present an unbiased environmental report on the potential impacts of that project, not a recommendation.
No, I understand the city or the staff make recommendations, but I'm reminded of, and I mean no disrespect by this at all, but I'm reminded of termite inspectors. And it's never a house I had a termite inspector where they didn't find termites. And I'm just wondering, did you ever do an EIR in which the city or the staff then recommended not to do the project?
Well, I would say yes. Now you're going to ask me where and
when and what percentage.
Exactly. We've done many environmental documents where we've found that there are significant unavoidable impacts of proceeding with that project, even with mitigation. But that's not, again, a recommendation yes or no on the project. And again, I'm drawing a blank. Nicole, can you help me with an answer to the question of where a project was denied? Well, I guess we did an environmental impact report for the County of Orange on an international airport, and they didn't select that.
Yay.
That was 10 years ago?
At least that long.
Yeah, longer, actually, 15 years ago. So one every 15 years.
No, sir. It's much more frequently than that we work on projects that are denied.
Because I know you've done projects here before for our city, and I know they've all gone ahead. And that may be because they all should have gone ahead, or I just don't know. That's the only question I have.
I noticed on the your bid that your price went down significantly from the previous. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
During the negotiation process, the city came back to us and had some questions about some of the assumptions we had made about the number of meetings and a few other items. And so when we worked through it with staff, we were able to reduce cost and accordingly reduce scope to go with that.
I have a question for the city attorney. I don't want to do anything illegal or improper or otherwise. Can I ask them questions about campaign contributions? Is that relevant?
Yes, you can, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I notice you're a campaign contributor to people on our city council. Could you give me some idea of, are you a campaign contributor to every city council in Orange County?
I wouldn't say everyone, but we have contributed to not only city council, board of supervisor, even those types of races throughout the county over our 42 years, yes.
Okay, and why do you do that?
We do that because we're interested and we know the sacrifices that elected people have got to put out and the time that's required, and that those campaigns cost money to run. And so we support financially to do that.
Okay, and my campaign costs money. I guess actually all of our campaigns cost money. How is it some of us get money and some of us don't get money? What is it that determines who gets money and who doesn't get money?
I'd say primarily who asked.
Okay. So the people on our council who got money are the people who asked for money?
That would be, yes.
Okay. Did you ever turn down somebody who asked for money?
I cannot recall.
Okay. So generally speaking, if I ask for money, I'm going to get money.
Generally, I'd say, but again, but I think going back to your question about if I turn down, and when I say I,
no, I understand
company,
you don't make.
It's the company.
Understand
is making the contributions, but again, because we're looking for good governance and people that are interested to serve and run, and that's generally how we decide.
But well, I think what you said was you decide if I ask. For example, if I asked, do you know anything about my record in property and how much property I own and how I am in development? Or I might be against it, I might be in favor of it, but if I ask you for it, am I going to get money?
We would look and say, what is your interest? What are your objectives? What are your goals in wanting to serve? That would be a good question to ask, and we would do that.
Okay. And if I was, for example, and this isn't true, so it's a hypothetical example. But if I had voted against every development project that ever came in to Lake Forest, which is not true, but if it were true, and I asked for money, would I get money? What do you think?
How you voted on matters in each and every individual one wouldn't necessarily have a bearing on it. You might have, I have no idea what your reasons might be for. They might have been very bad projects that had very significant environmental impacts. I don't know.
Okay, so you don't look at that. Suppose we were having a discussion at a fundraiser, and you said, I really like you and what you do, and I want the sacrifice, etc. We'd like to give you some money, and I said, I could use some money. Thank you very much. But if you gave me money, when your issue came before the council, I would have to recuse myself because I would feel funny having taken money from you to vote against you. So rather than compromise my own ethics, I would recuse myself. Has anybody ever said that to you?
I don't think so, but we also are very careful and obey all the rules and regulations and laws with respect to those limitations, and the contributions we've made to members of this council have followed those rules.
No, there wouldn't be anything illegal about that, but if that was my position...
Oh, certainly.
Then would I get the money if I said I would recuse myself, but please give me the money?
It wouldn't have a bearing on our decision to make a contribution.
Would it surprise you if I told you I did that to 2 different development companies, and I said, please, but I'll refuse. I never saw a cent. Would that surprise you?
That was their decision.
All right. Well, and thank you very much. You're the first person who's come before me as mayor who's given contributions, and these were questions I've been dying to ask, so I didn't mean any disrespect, but just to find out more for myself. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay. Did you want to make a motion?
Well, generally speaking, we go with the lower bid, and there's quite a lower bid. I'm just going a higher bid here when there are 2 lower bids, one of them substantially lower.
Well, since the last meeting, they've actually adjusted their price. They've come down 10%, so they're only $1,000 above the next lowest bidder.
Yes, if I could clarify that for you. Actually, we open the cost proposals after we've completed the interview process, and this is a professional services contract. So it's not like a public works contract where we take the lowest bid automatically. So this is a professional base qualifications proposal. So we looked at the fees that we had. This firm, LSA, was the highest ranked company in terms of the interview scores. We noticed their cost was higher, so we delved into that. We got We worked with representatives of the firm to understand better what some of their cost components were. And as Ms. mentioned, there were two items. One was a 10% contingency that they had included. The other was the number of meetings they were proposing. They were actually proposing monthly meetings with staff in person. And so we looked at those two items. We thought those were over-scoped. And so they reduced their price by approximately $47,000. So the two prices for the first and second ranked firm are about $1,000 apart.
Yeah, I guess I was looking at the third rather than the first two.
Yes, the third one for the qualifications for the technical review and for the interview, they were several hundred points less. So there's quite a discrepancy there in what the ranking was. So they weren't all three ranked very closely.
No, I know.
So we just looked at the cost. But we didn't feel that the staff members had the experience and the expertise in that particular firm or the familiarity with Lake Forest and South Orange County. And that's why they did not receive scores comparable to the other two.
And this is paid for by Toll Brothers in any event, right?
Yes, the entire environmental study is paid for, but the city administers the contract. We run the selection process. We do all the work with the consultant. We do all the work, and of course, our city attorney's office reviews all of the work products.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to go ahead and approve LSA, but I would also like them to pursue resident outreach to find out what the residents want in addition to them doing this typical study. And I would like Toll Brothers to pay for it.
Just a question for Mayor Pro Tem Basil. You had previously at your last meeting given us direction to pursue a market study and pursue a separate consultant that would actually do the work that you're talking about. So I'm assuming you want to continue that direction?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate you clarifying that. I just wanted to make sure it didn't get lost somewhere.
No. And so we are putting together the scope of services for that, and we're actually going to send that to the council in a memo so you can all review it before we issue it.
Perfect.
So that is in progress.
All right, great. Then I'd like to make a motion that we approve LSA tonight.
And I'll second that.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries with Mayor Gardner opposed.
Before we move on to the next item, since we're still on the item here, I just want to talk a little bit about this overall review process, if you wouldn't mind. When there's a substantial difference in the technical review, I think that it's really challenging in the qualifications interview for someone to make up the difference. So like in this particular case, between that LSA and then that lowest bidder and the point differential, you're talking about 80 points practically, right? And it'd have to be, that one that was lower in the technical review would have to be so significantly better in the qualifications interview that I think that they're already at a disadvantage. What I would appreciate from staff moving forward is an understanding of what the gap there causes. So if we selected the lowest bidder who wasn't as qualified, you may say, but they were qualified enough to move on to that interview process, right? That there'd be a gap for the staff where you'd have to make up the difference, right? That's how I view it. You might have to hire an additional consultant to make up for that gap, or you may have to spend staff time to make up for that gap. And what kind of cost would that impact this particular issue, whatever it might be? And I think that would help us understand why you're choosing the one that's more highly qualified, even though it's expensive. So I look at these two, and there was about a $23,000 difference, right? And from a qualification standpoint, the point spread is about 140 points out of, say, a total of 1,000, so fairly significant. And what would you have to do to make up that skill difference between the two? And when I look at it, I'd say it's more than 23,000, so it's kind of a no-brainer to me that even though the other one is lower in cost, we're not getting what we need, and we'd probably have to find it in another way. So I hope that just kind of gives you some general direction. I'm not seeking consensus or anything like that. That's just my individual comments here. But that would help me a lot as an individual council member in looking at this and understanding why you picked one over the other.
Yeah, I concur. I think that's a really good point, because it may be, not in this particular case, but other cases, it may be that they are more highly qualified, but we don't need that much qualification. So that in that sense, we could go with the lower vote. But I second your comments.
All right, so are we on to the next item, number 17?
Agenda item 17, an ordinance amending the Lake Forest Municipal Code relating to the regulation of drones, submitted by the Assistant to the City Manager.
Mayor and members of the council, we have a brief presentation from our Assistant City Manager, Carlo Tomaina.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. So as you probably recall, last year, you requested that staff prepare a drone ordinance modeled after the one drafted initially by the Association of California Cities, Orange County, also known as the ACCOC. The City Council also asked staff to look into potential monitoring efforts related to the ordinance. So at the time that we were looking at this issue, the California State Legislature was considering a bill of its own that would regulate drones. So given that a potential state law would have overrode a local ordinance, we postponed discussion and presentation of an ordinance until this time. You also may know that the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, currently requires that drones weighing more than half a pound be registered. And that registration provides a unique number that is kept by the FAA. Consequently, if the city enacts a local drone registry, there may be a potential that there's a federal preemption challenge. So I think that a local regulation program here is potentially out of the question. However, in the event of a drone-related incident, residents would be encouraged to contact the Sheriff's Department non-emergency number, and the FAA, who we've spoken to, shares information from its drone registry with local law enforcement to pursue such incidents. So while we wouldn't necessarily recommend creation of a local registration or monitoring program, we would work with federal officials to respond to potential problems associated with drone operators if necessary. Overall, the proposed drone ordinance is modeled after the one prepared by the ACCOC and provides specific guidance to drone pilots in Lake Forest to encourage safe operation of these devices. Specifically, the ordinance contains regulations regarding takeoff, landing, and flight procedures to mitigate potential interference with private property, emergency operations, or law enforcement activity. If approved this evening, staff would provide the public in the future with information regarding the new law through the leaflet and our social media activity. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Do we have any public comments?
Yes, ma'am. Vincent Burke.
Good evening again, Vincent Lake Forest. I don't own a drone, so I don't have a dog in this fight, but a couple things jumped out at me as I reviewed the proposed ordinance. One was the restriction on no takeoff or landings within 100 feet of a school. Now, what if a private residence is on the perimeter of a school? Are you going to prohibit people from flying their aircraft from their location, their home? Furthermore, apparently there's no restriction on flying the drone over the school. You just can't take off or land over within 100 feet. So I don't understand the justification there. Anyways, the drones cannot be affixed with weapons. Well, there's no definition of what a weapon is. Now, visible light lasers, they're not typically weapons. They could be used as such if aimed at an aircraft. But there's no mention of any specifics defining what a weapon is, what an example of a weapon is, and certainly mentioning use of a visible light laser on the aircraft on the drone. That's all I had to say on this. If you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to touch on something that came up during public comment, and that is with one of my favorite subjects, street parking. We're going to continue again and again, have people come up here and BMW about parking in their areas. I've seen plenty of this. I live it, okay? Until the city council is ready to do the unpopular thing, and that is start enforcing the off-street parking ordinance, Chapter 9.168, in regards to garage use. You're going to continue to have this. People in single-family residences who want to use their garages for storage, recreational use, everything except parking their cars, and then they BMW because they can't park out on the streets because somebody else from a neighboring area is taking up their space. You're going to have to do this, okay? It's getting to that point. The way the ordinance is right now, it's a de facto forcing of people from high-density residential areas to use their garages, which they should be, okay? But the same is not applied to the people in single-family residences who are now being granted public property for private use. You're going to have to do the tough job on this at some point. Probably, I could probably stop by every one of your garages there, and I would be surprised to see if even two of you could fit 2 cars in your garages. Anyways, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We've had no further questions.
Council, have any comments?
I thought those were 2 very good comments about defining weapons, and also you can't land and take off, but you can over. So maybe we should be changing it.
I'll move staff recommendation, but to clarify that, are the drones allowed to fly over our sports park?
Mayor and members of the council, currently I believe that Title 13 of the Lake Forest Municipal Code, which governs parks and recreation, does not allow drones to fly over our parks.
What if AYSO or Little League hired a drone to do an aerial of their thing? Could they get permission from the city?
I believe that an organization could potentially have permission through the city manager's office or the director of community services if there were a special case in which that was deemed appropriate.
Because there's a lot of commercial filming of that kind of stuff from drones, and so this does leave avenue for permission to be granted on special circumstances.
I believe the city would have discretion to do that on a case-by-case basis, but it would have to be demonstrated need.
Okay. I'll move staff recommendation.
Yeah, well, what about adding his comments defining the weapons a little more clearly? It's just saying weapons and also prohibiting them from going over a school.
I thought that was included in the state law that you can't have weaponized drones.
Yeah, but we didn't define what do we mean by that.
So currently, if I may clarify, Mayor, members of the council, the ordinance as drafted is what the ACCOC put together, and it doesn't have a specific definition for weapon. We can certainly provide that if that's the council's direction.
Well, I'd like to see it, and I'd also like to see no over schools, because if they're going to crash, I don't want them crashing on a school. So those would be, I mean, I'd approve, it's a great job. It's good. I have no problems with it, but he did point out 2 areas where it could be better. So maybe if we could get those changes and bring it back to us with the changes.
Yeah, and so I'll accept that as a friendly amendment, and that we can bring back with that other wording added to it.
So I hear a second as well. You seconded?
Well, I'll second or he seconded, either way.
Okay. Cast your votes.
And thank you.
Good catch.
Okay, let me make sure that.
It's an example of you can really help us. I mean, these are hundreds of pages we go through. Well, thank you so much. We need your help. If we're going to do better, you're part of us doing better.
To clarify, you'd like staff to return with language drafted defining weapons and adding the no flight over schools.
So, does that mean this is going to come back to us as a first reading again?
That's correct.
Is that required with this? Is this substantive enough change, or could it come back in a second reading?
It's both substantive enough, and we don't have definitions yet, so we have to come back with definitions for the council to approve.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure we don't turn it into a 3-meeting ordinance, but it will be.
This will be a 3-meeting ordinance.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I apologize. That motion passes with Mayor Pro Tem Basil abstained.
And now it's time for City Manager's report.
I have nothing further this evening.
Council comments. Let's start with Councilman Boyds.
I want to thank everybody showing up. I want to say that I'm excited to have Councilman Cagley as our new addition up here. And I do want to wish everybody a healthy, happy, and prosperous year. We have a remarkable community of Lake Forest, and I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I tell her to be careful of what you say and what you meet online, because friends don't always turn out to be friends, as we found out here in Foothill Ranch. And a tragedy happened, but that doesn't, I don't think that tarnishes the kind of people we have living in Lake Forest, but it was someone from outside the area and someone here that was too trustful. So love your family, love your children, and do your best to be honest at all times. And I want to wish you guys all a Happy New Year. Thank you. And congratulations to Mayor Gardner and Mayor Pro Tem Leo Basil. I know that we're going to have a great year here in Lake Forest, so congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. Councilman Robertson.
So I'd like to offer my congratulations to Councilman Cagley, Mayor Gardner, and Mayor Pro Tem Basil. I also believe that we're going to have a great year here, and so thank you very much for your service. Speaking to that same issue, I had a few people reach out to me after Blaise Bernstein's passing and just the tragic events that occurred there. And there's been a lot of talk in the community about doing something at Borrego Park. There were some very specific ideas that were being presented to me, and I responded to each one of them saying that what I felt best would be if the staff reached out to the family at a time that's appropriate, because I understand they're still in a very serious grieving process right now, but reach out to the family and just kind of talk about what possibilities they might be interested in. There have been, again, a variety of things that have been brought up, but I think that's probably the most appropriate way, rather than any one individual trying to dictate how some remembrance of Blaise Bernstein should occur. So that would be my request, is that staff reaches out to the family.
Add consensus to that.
And then on a, what's that? Okay. And then on a separate note, I believe Councilman Gardner's brought up a report to staff. He and I have met and talked about businesses and how to, provide a more friendly environment here in town, and also some things that could be done with respect to economic development, things of that nature. So we'd like to, I guess, agendize that report. Does that sound right to you? Agendize that report for discussion at hopefully a time in the near future that works for your all schedule. I know that there's probably a lot on the schedule right now, or may arise in this meeting or future ones. So, it's, you can work with Mayor Gardner on prioritization of that, as you typically would with any mayor. So, thanks. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Other than that, hope you all have a great evening, and thank you very much to the staff for your time this evening.
Our newest member, Councilman Cagley.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I appreciate being here. I appreciate the comments and kind words been made all evening. It's going to be an exciting year. It's only going to be a year for me, because this is just to finish out a term. I do have a goal I campaigned on in 2014, and again this past few few months, and that's a traffic commission. I really want to see a traffic commission created here that can take on these issues of traffic and parking. It's a goal. Now, as the newest member of the council and also as the newest member of the Public Library Advisory Board, I will give book assignments to all the council members next meeting. Thank you all for being here.
So I'd like to give consensus to the Traffic Commission.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
a real
give
traffic commission.
consensus.
All right, so I'll go next. We all know what a tragedy it was to lose Blaze Bernstein the way we lost him. I've reached out to the family and have spoken with the father over Messenger, and I know a lot of residents have also asked me the same, that they'd like to see a tree or a park bench, but I agree with Councilman Robinson. We should definitely wait and see what the family feels, if they'd like to do that. I'm all on board with whatever they're comfortable with. So it brought two things to my mind. One of them is next week we have an internet safety course for parents to teach their children how to be safe on the internet. Can you share the date, time, location with everyone?
That class is going to be next Wednesday at the sports park. I believe it's at 6 p.m. You don't need to make a reservation, but if you can share the event or say that you're attending the event on Facebook, it gives us a heads up on the seating because it is limited, but it is free to attend. And it's on child exploitation and internet safety, put on by someone from the Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force.
Thank you. I think that would be very informative, and it's something that we as parents should all be aware of, what our children are doing on the internet.
Just to add to that, and it's parents only, and not for kids, because the material's not suited.
Right. And the other thing I wanted to mention with Blaze's passing was it really brought to my mind how much we need a community foundation. Because when this was all going on, we could have had a team of volunteers, jumping in to help, or maybe if we had donations collected, we could have been offering a reward to help find the perpetrator, things like that. I think that there could be some very big, useful things that we could pull from a community foundation. So I'm not going to bring that for consensus tonight because I'm going to do some more legwork behind the scenes. When I'm prepared to present it to the council, then I'll seek consensus at that time. But I just wanted to let everyone know that that's kind of where I was thinking. And Scott, you and I think have a meeting on Monday to talk about it. Yeah, thumbs up from...
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll see you on Monday about that. The other thing I want to bring up tonight, just a quick rundown. I got a note today from Sheriff Hutchins regarding the MOU that's going on between the Orange County Sheriff's Department and the OCFA. An MOU is a memorandum of understanding, and there's been confusion as to who has air priority when there's an emergency in Orange County. And so they've kind of been going back and forth trying to come to an agreement, and we just found out that they could not come to an agreement. So at this point, I don't really know what's going to happen. So hopefully I'll have some more updates for everyone from the next OCFA board. Hopefully we'll have something to go on, but just it's good to let everyone know that unfortunately they couldn't come to an agreement. And I wish I knew what that meant, but I really don't know yet. So next month, hopefully I'll have something for you. And the last thing I want to present tonight that I'd like to have consensus on is I'd like to start a discussion to create a ballot initiative to discuss term limits for council members. I want it to go before the voters, but I'd like to get consensus so we can talk about it as a council. Great.
I'll give consensus.
Great. Okay, great. Well, that's all I have, and I'm very glad that we have Colonel Tom Cagley with us tonight. I'm pleased. I think he's going to make a really good council person. From my experience with Tom, he's always been very fair, very responsible, and I think he can see all sides of a situation, and I can say that Tom won't vote with me on everything. He won't vote with Mayor Gardner. He won't vote with Robinson or Councilman Voights on anything as lockstep. And I think that's why I admire him so much, because he stands up for what he believes in. Even if I disagree, I appreciate that about him. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you all for staying. And I want to thank Leah for doing a great job. She's doing job. Actually, I'm going to have her come back next time, and you can do it. It's a great job. A couple of comments. One is, okay, folks, the recall's behind us. this is a new gang of 5. So let's move forward, and I hope this is the last meeting that we have to talk about that. Mayor Pro Tem mentioned the child exploitation meeting next week, but tomorrow we have a new business reception at 6 p.m., and that's always exciting. That's here, isn't it? Yeah, and there's more than 30 new businesses here, so come. The city will feed you, and you get to meet these 30 businesses. It'll really be a good time. And next week, in addition, on Wednesday, we have child exploitation, and thank you for putting that together. We also have the Seroptimus International are having their blanket making session at the Lake One Clubhouse Thursday at 6 p.m. So those are all issues happening in the community that you can participate in. We missed, those of you, the regulars, know that we had a terrible strategic planning workshop, just terrible. But that we still had to do strategic planning, so that's sitting out there. And there are issues that the city manager needs to know what to go ahead with, what to stall, what to allocate resources. So we have to get that done. I'm going to suggest, if it's possible, that, and we missed a meeting this month, so we're down one meeting. It's a very ambitious year, and we're starting it off down one meeting. So that's going to make it a very long year. I'm going to suggest, if we're available, that we use January 30th, and that'll be the Tuesday, I guess, 2 weeks from now. If we're all available to have a session in which we really do strategic planning. And if I have to, I'll lead it myself, or you can lead it. Okay, she says I can't. So, who's the boss? I don't know. Apparently she's the boss. But does that work for everybody, 2 weeks from today, to do a strategic planning?
I'd have to check my schedule. I don't have it in front of me right now.
We'll
but,
check and get back.
Okay, well,
you can put it down, and
Yeah, I'm
I'll make
available.
every attempt.
Okay, so let's do it this way, the 30th or the 13th of February, the 27th of February, let's get that in, because there's all kinds of things waiting on us to get that done. So you'll send out a memo, and whatever we can do when you can get us all in. If we can't do it, then let's add it on to one of those February sessions where we are meeting, because we need to do that and get that going. That being said, I have a couple of things that I don't need to wait for strategic planning in order to get consensus on. One of them is to move forward on a local no-kill shelter. And I can't read it, but can you read my notes there next to no-kill shelter?
Yes. Move toward a no-kill option, example, reopening discussions with neighboring cities, discussions with local vets, and discussions with the county.
Okay, so
That's my consensus.
I'd like to get that on the calendar. Okay. Number two, I get 4 of these, right? I'm going to shoot my wad tonight. This is number 2 is campaign. Can you read that one?
In some manner, reduce the possibilities of anyone with financial interest trying to influence local elections by giving money to campaign committees or independent expenditure committees of PACs, changes to contracts, changes to ethics code.
Okay. I'd like to get consensus on moving that to the agenda.
Consensus.
Okay, and then number 3, could you read ethics?
My pleasure. Set up a committee and add independent oversight, put some teeth into violations and specific examples to illustrate violations, and define the process for submitting suspected violations.
Okay.
Consensus.
Consensus on that? Okay, geez, I got 44, and I just, all right. Then the next one, okay, because, yes, because you mentioned it, I'm going to do it just for you. I want us to consider a variety of committees, and they will include animal welfare or beautification or, as she said, the community foundation. So I'd like a discussion on committees for the ad hoc committees or standing committees for the coming year. I get
Consensus,
on
yes.
it. All right. And there it is. I said 4, and I've done them all. So, again, when the blaze, I don't want to talk this ad infinitum, but I was sick to my stomach when I heard about that and continue to be sick over that. And I'm happy you're suggesting the idea of a community foundation. I think we probably, as a city, could have done a little better or a little quicker, and we kind of got caught off guard there in terms of, I know Leah was talking with the folks, and she and I were talking about a reward, and we were trying to talk there, and I know you were too. I think going forward, and perhaps just the city manager needs to do this, we don't even need consensus, if we could iron out the way we respond to crises like this. Everyone hopes it doesn't happen again, and yet somehow, something like this would happen again. And using the city's website, social media had all kinds of information, and a lot of it was crazy. Maybe the city website could have been involved, or the community thing, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you could come back with us with just going forward, how we could deal with it more effectively. And other than that, it's going to be a hell of a year, and it's up to us to be a gang of 5 and to work with the staff, but it's also up to you. I mean, we need you as much as we need the staff, as much as we need each other. So going forward, this is going to be a year. Thank you very much.
Before we adjourn, could I just recommend or suggest that we adjourn in memory of Blaise Bernstein? So
Yeah,
I think
that's
that'd be an
wonderful.
appropriate thing to do.
It's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.